844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, you now have tons of options. Save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect. We scan your location and offer you the best TV and internet options. And we always have specials and promotions. So when you call, ask about that. Take 5 minutes of your time, make this free call now, and learn how to save money and get better internet and TV for your home anywhere in the U.S. Make this simple and free call now.
800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. That's 800-257-1632.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, by now you've probably heard about All Family Pharmacy. They're fast, reliable, and committed to getting you the medications you need without the runaround. When everyone around you is sick and you know you have to be prepared, or when you don't want to wait in line for maintenance meds, you absolutely need All Family Pharmacy. They've got antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, ivermectin. Order online at allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. On this Thursday, it may be unfair of me to criticize Trump administration people like Kash Patel. I am urging the FBI director to hold a press conference in order to update the American people on exactly what the FBI is investigating in the ICE Minnesota debacle. Obviously, there's much to clarify here with a state insurrection that has led to 2 people being killed. The truth is that Mr. Patel has to get permission to do that from President Trump. He can't unilaterally decide to meet the press. That's because Donald Trump was burned so badly by Washington people in his first term, he now runs a top-down operation. All decisions come from the White House. Franklin Delano Roosevelt did the same thing for 13 years. He and a few cohorts made all the calls. FDR even wanted to sidestep the Supreme Court. Congress blocked him, but he would have done it. It was amusing in a horrible way to see President Biden, the master of befuddlement, blame Trump yesterday for the Minnesota chaos. Come on, Joe, you caused it with your amazingly irresponsible open border policy. And now the nation suffers. The truth is, it is up to Mr. Trump himself to get this thing under control. And I believe he'll do it. Back in a moment. Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today. Afternoon highs in the mid-20s. And let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all. But if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch. Maybe even a little more is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8. The afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
You've heard that phrase before, right? When somebody tells you and shows you who and what they are, believe them. Well, we're seeing that evidence all over the place in the country, especially among the violent fringe left and their supporters on the far left as well. Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday to you. Greetings from Puerto Rico. Yes, I am down here in Puerto Rico getting ready to play in the ball tournament, which is going to get started here in just a couple of hours. Matter of fact, I'm going to have an update for you with Jerome in just about 20 minutes or so here. On Wednesday's program, when I was still here in the cold tundra with you all in St. Louis before I went down to Puerto Rico, Stacey Matthews, otherwise known as Sister Told Ya on Red State, had some updates for us. And we're going to start in the Chicago area where a teacher is potentially facing the loss of his career because he typed two things that supported federal law enforcement. And that's just the beginning. Here's what Stacey had to say with her update.
Type 2 words in support of federal law enforcement?
How dare you?
Ooh, you're on your own, and get ready to reap the woke whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's encapsulated in one of the articles on on Red State, rather, as well. Got Susie here, got Jerome here, and Mike, now joined by Stacey Matthews. You may know her better as Sister Told Ya on Red State. And let me start there. The article, which, kind of, I would say had my jaw dropping, Stacey, but good God, we're just kind of used to this nonsense from the extremists and the teachers unions. The article is Chicago teacher faces woke backlash, disciplinary action over 2-word social media remark about ICE. She literally typed 2 words. What kind of disciplinary action is she facing? I mean, this is just insane.
Yes, Mike. Well, first of all, good morning. And I do want to say really quickly, I caught the tail end of your last segment where you were talking about somebody named Moore stabbing people. I didn't catch the first name. But
it was not Susie.
If it's Susie, I want to apologize for that typo in the last.
You're safe, Stacey. It was not me.
But about the Chicago teacher, I believe it's actually a male, not a female. And the person, it was just 2 words. And it was apparently in response to some type of article about ICE activity in Chicago, which, they've seen a lot of over the last few months as part of Trump's immigration enforcement crackdown. And all the teacher wrote was "Go ICE," and it created a backlash in the West Chicago school district. And the disciplinary action that the teacher could face is termination.
It's just
termination.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this what
there's a petition circulating to have him fired. The woke mob wants to appear at the next school board meeting. All over these 2 words. Now, you contrast this, Mike and Susie and Jerome, with the other teacher in Chicago who is still working, teaching, and being shielded from scrutiny. This is the same teacher, the teacher who made a mockery of Charlie Kirk's death during one of the No Kings protests. So that teacher is being shielded, but this one is facing termination for supporting law enforcement.
Yeah, because that's the one who did the whole finger gun to the neck and yelled bang and did that. Yeah, and but in this case, the point that you're making there, which is where I wanted to jump in, is the whole point of the teachers unions in a lot of ways is to protect their teachers from external stuff like this. So they're picking and choosing, it seems, who they get to represent based on the ideology, which tells me that it just confirms more that these are political activist organizations more than they are employee protection organizations.
Right. There was a state senator. I don't know what the unions have said about this, Mike, but there was a Democrat state senator. Apparently, she represents that particular part of Chicago. And she said she was standing in solidarity with the woke mob because the 2 words that the teacher typed, "Go ICE," stoked fear in the community and made people feel unsafe. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, they don't support the police there when the police are trying to do their job, and they don't support ICE when they're trying to do their job. So what's wrong with this picture?
Stacey, I just want to clarify, too. This was a comment that this teacher made on social media. It wasn't like a banner in their classroom or anything directed at students, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was on their personal social media. It was not done during work hours or anything like that.
Yeah, I could almost see an argument if it was somehow in the classroom or whatever. And the student, this is an elementary teacher, maybe I could understand you don't want to send that message to students and stoke fear. Okay, I'm going to go with that. But if the teacher had said abolish ICE, or defund the police or, anything like that. I mean, don't they have students whose parents work for ICE or the police too? Why would that not be the same thing?
Apparently, this particular district has a high percentage of Hispanic people living there, and it sounds to me, honestly, the way that the reaction has been to this, it sounds like to me there might be quite a few illegals, and ICE might be paying a visit to West Chicago a little bit more, after this story, because there's been so much dust kicked up over this issue.
Wow, we're visiting with Stacey Matthews, a.k.a. Sister Told Ya, from redstate.com. Okay, so let's talk about the illegal. Let me pivot to another one of your articles that kind of jumped out at me. And this one is in Virginia. There's actually a proposal, and you wrote about this and linked to it and everything, to, of course, restrict ICE and Homeland Security when it comes to immigration enforcement. But specifically, they're saying you can't come within a certain number of feet of a one particular thing. And that's got people raising eyebrows going, wait a minute, we didn't think that polling places mattered in all this. So what is it that's proposed? And then the obvious questions that brings up.
Well, Mike, we've had several instances over the last year alone of Democrats saying the quiet part out loud about illegals voting in elections. We've seen it with Gavin Newsom. In California, that's a more glaring example. But in Virginia, there's a Democrat delegate named Alfonso Lopez, and he introduced a bill, HB 1442, that seeks to prohibit federal immigration enforcement activity within 40 feet of polling places. And the thing about it is that if illegal immigrants are not supposed to be able to vote, which Democrats keep telling us is the case, and it actually is the case, then why do they have to have this legislation? Where's the supposed need for this legislation?
Stacey, did he have any explanation that offered for that? Do we have any sense of what was motivating this?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I've checked for a statement from him, and I haven't found anything. But let me just read what the summary of it is. It says, elections, polling places, prohibited activities, acts in furtherance of immigration laws, prohibits any person from performing any act for the purpose in furtherance of immigration enforcement within 40 feet of any building, a polling place, a meeting place for the local electoral board, or the place where the recounts are held. So I think it's pretty obvious here, what's going on. But again, no one seems to want to answer the question. If illegals can't vote, then why is this legislation needed? And a Republican delegate, Ann Farrell, she said that they were shocked at the brazenness of the bill. And she said, first, states can't restrict the actions of the federal government. But more importantly, what's the purpose behind this bill? Democrats tell us illegal aliens aren't voting. It's quite a coincidence.
Right. I mean, this is to say it's an unforced error would be an understatement, Stacey, but it's almost like a circus level unforced error. I mean, this is clown show stuff. Did nobody in the Democratic caucus go, hey, we may be opening ourselves up for something here?
Well, the thing is, too, Mike, and you have to remember Abigail Spanberger's actions the very first day she was in office, one of her very first actions was to end cooperation between Virginia and ICE. So this builds on that premise. That ICE is not to be trusted, that we are going to side with illegal immigrants in our community over American citizens. And I think that's the message that Republicans need to be better at getting out there. You see different, opinions about deportations and some of the other ICE activities, but we have to remember that the reason that all of this is going on is because Democrats have chosen in certain parts of the country, blue states in particular, to not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement on detainers for criminal illegal immigrants. They are protecting criminal illegal immigrants over their own citizens, and that needs to be amplified from Republicans from here until Election Day, because we need to take back control of the narrative about this.
Stacey, with Spanberger in charge and the supermajority that the Democrats have in the Virginia legislature now, I think we're going to see lots more craziness coming out of Virginia. But you also had an article up yesterday with some good news that they may not get their way on something that's really critical to the upcoming midterms.
Yes, and this is kind of fascinating, Susie. And I'm not a legal expert. You are, but this one, we had some people in the comments talk about it. It was the case regarding the redistricting effort that Virginia Democrats have undertaken in response to some of the other redistricting that we've seen go on across the country, mid-century or mid-decade redistricting. And basically, the Democrats in the House of Delegates in the Senate late last year, went forward with a plan to put a constitutional amendment on a ballot, which they were going to do. It was originally set for April of this year, for citizens to vote on whether or not they would allow the House of Delegates and the Senate to redraw the maps to give Democrats a big advantage in the 2026 midterms in Virginia. Well, a circuit court judge yesterday ruled that Virginia Democrats violated their own constitution and procedurally in the way that they went about this. And it was interesting. There were some commenters at RedState.com who are familiar with the Virginia Constitution, and they said that this ruling to them was a no-brainer, and that they would not be surprised if the Virginia Supreme Court upheld the ruling.
And so, Stacey, from there, obviously, with the appeals process, does that mean that they do not have time to do that gerrymandering before the next midterm, or is there still a chance they can try it again and get it done in time?
If these rulings are upheld, then they will not be able to do this before the midterms. In fact, they would not be able to do it again until 2027, which is their next off-year election.
And how much of a swing in congressional seats, for instance, would that have accounted for?
It would be, if I remember correctly, Mike, it would be 4.
Mm-hmm. That's more than the margin right now.
Yeah, that's
right,
important.
Right. I think it would basically give Virginia one Republican Congress member, and the rest would be. I think it's 9-1 or 10-1. I can't remember the amount of districts they have there, but I believe it was either 9. It would give Virginia Democrats either 9-1 or 10-1 advantage.
All right, and of course, what's in the cooker for today as well?
What's in the cooker? Oh, goodness, there's going to be more on Minnesota. We're still hearing about that and learning about what has happened between Tom Homan and Mayor Fry and Tim Walz, and that's obviously going to be the big story today.
And RedState.com. We'll talk to you again soon. Stacey, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Stacey.
And as always, just make sure you're checking out redstate.com there. All right, Susie's going to be in at 6 o'clock. I've got an update for you from Puerto Rico here in just a couple of minutes with Jerome right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is called officially the Great Healthcare Plan.
When the Republicans rubber stamp everything he does, the constraints go away.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall selling picture postcards in Kansas City to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the free market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey there, News Talk STL family and friends. Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday, News Talk STL, 9 a.m. for the Serenity Wealth Now show. Joining me in the studio, we have got Shelby with Angels on Duty, and we're going to talk about home health care and making sure you can enjoy the care you deserve in the quality and comfort of your own home. Sunday morning, 9 a.m., News Talk STL or Serenity Wealth Now, social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
With macular degeneration, you lose your central vision.
You have a blind spot right in the center of your face, so I can't actually see your face.
So even that little circle in which I could see became a big blur.
I was 65 when I first was diagnosed with glaucoma.
There were no symptoms. I had no headaches.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
You lose mobility, independence, changes your entire life.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
My husband tells me that I have beautiful brown eyes, and I don't want to lose that.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Good morning, Get Up Crew Early Birds. This is producer Jerome chiming in while we wait for the amazing Billy Crow and Susie Moore to show up. I'm all alone, unfortunately, but I'm not alone in spirit. Just because Mike is away playing old man baseball right now does not mean he's not here with us in spirit. And actually, we have a quick statement from him that he wants to relay to all of you.
Hey, Jerome. Yeah, we're here in a town called Carolina, which is just outside of San Juan, getting ready to go to our game. We're actually 2 hours ahead of St. Louis, so we're going on just a little bit of sleep, but man, we are all excited over here. So Team Missouri playing the Forkballers today, and I'm told they're from Delaware. I think that's right. Guys, they're from Delaware, right? Yes. I mean, told they're from Delaware. So we're going to a stadium in Bayamon, and I'm sure I messed that up completely on how I said that. But the important thing that everybody needs to know in St. Louis is that we've got a high temperature today of about 83 and sunny. So enjoy that 20-degree weather. I'm going to be praying for you all as we're in 83-degree weather and the sunshine here in Puerto Rico. Anyway, we'll give you the update a little bit later. I am going to send some pictures, so we'll get that up on News Talk STL's social media in just a little bit. So we're having looking forward to a great time here in this tournament. So Team Missouri playing 5 games in the next 3 days, and then we will keep you updated throughout the week. All right, have a good one. Susie, Jerome, man, have a great time. We'll talk to you later.
All right, you know what? I retract my previous statement. I was going to say to root for him and wish him the best, but if he's going to be bragging about 80-degree weather while we're all freezing in the St. Louis metro area, then, yeah, tough luck, good luck out there. But besides that, we do have a Power Pack show going on today. There are quite a few developments and some ongoing stories that we've been covering for the past couple of weeks. Some of these have gotten very bizarre as well as new developments, but Route 66 actually turns 100 years old. St. Louis is going to be celebrating. I remember Route 66 from the Blues Brothers because being from the Joliet area, that was like the one thing anybody knew about us, which was interesting. There's also a new video from the incident involving Alex Preddy, the man who was shot after being detained or, I guess, dogpiled by law enforcement when he was interfering with their activities. And this does not paint the picture of the noble-hearted soldier of justice that the left's been painting him as for this entire time. So still too early to say whether or not the firing from the law enforcement officer was justified. However, we are getting a more complete picture of what was actually going on leading up to this event. So we'll have more for that coming up. We also have Susie Moore coming up with some fabulous guests. We're going to be talking with, let let me get my actual facts in front of me real quick. Representative Ben Keathley at 6:35. You're not going to want to miss that one. And we also have Linda Ragsdale, O'Fallon City Council member from Ward 5, to join us to break down some of what's going on in that area. There was a very tragic incident that happened involving a shooting, so maybe we can get some more information on what's going on with that later on. That's coming at 7:35, and again, Ben Keathley at 6:35, so stay tuned. We have a lot to talk about today. Also, the weather is not going to be getting very much better, so please, please, please keep an eye on your weather apps. Keep an eye on the forecast. Stay inside when you can. Make sure that your pipes are well. Make sure that you are doing the necessary things to keep your pipes from bursting, because that is a very expensive repair, and if you're just now finding out your HVAC system is not in good condition, well, maybe Susie's got somebody for you to help figure that out. So stay tuned with us. We'll be right back after this quick information segment. You're listening to 101.9 94.1 Mike Ferguson in the morning without Mike Ferguson here on News Talk STL.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
On this week's show, we have Steve O'Laughlin from Lodging Hospitality Management Company to talk about Westport and Union Station. We also have Elliot Davis. We're bringing Elliot Davis back this week to talk about the stories of his career.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At U.S. Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With U.S. Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
U.S. Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With U.S. Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose U.S. Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. U.S. Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
From the 2020 election, President Trump stands by his claim of widespread voter fraud in the contest to put Joe Biden in the White House. Disagreements over immigration enforcement could lead to a partial government shutdown week's end.
The Senate has until Friday midnight to pass 6 spending bills, but Democrats are threatening to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security because of the fatal shootings by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said Democrats are demanding reforms and that the legislation won't pass until ICE is reined in and overhauled. Republicans will need Democratic votes to keep the government open. Greg Clugston, Washington.
More than 300,000 utility customers remain in the dark this morning following this week's big winter storm. Power is out as bitterly cold temperatures persist. And the National Weather Service's Mark Miller says could be a while before we see even a hint of a warm-up.
Many places across the eastern U.S., especially the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast, are going to be staying below freezing for at least the next week, through the weekend, possibly even into next week as well.
States with the most outages this morning, according to PowerOutage.us, Tennessee and Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Man's under arrest, allegedly repeatedly ramming his car into the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in New York City. The Hasidic Jewish Center was damaged, but no one was hurt. Watching Wall Street this morning, stock futures are in positive territory. The Dow futures are up 30 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 43. The S&P futures better by 11 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
They say timing is everything in the gold and silver markets, and it's true. Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. Although you can buy at the right time, if you buy the wrong coins, you may not make a profit. When gold was $400 an ounce, many people were talked into buying high-grade old gold and silver collector's coins. Unfortunately, most of the people who bought these so-called semi-numismatic coins, like the $20 St. Gaudens and Liberty Head gold coins, have not broken even on their investment. Incredible, given that gold has risen approximately 525% since then. So while timing is everything, if you buy the wrong coins, the timing simply doesn't matter. Having a dealer who cares about positioning you in the right types of coins or bullion will mean more to your portfolio than anything else. That's why I deal with Nick Rovich and AmFed Coin and Bullion. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. Or go to AmericanFederal.com. AmericanFederal.com.
The U.S. resuming aid shipments to Somalia.
The U.S. says it's lifting a suspension of aid to Somalia, saying Somali authorities have taken responsibility for actions earlier this month that disrupted aid shipments.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today, afternoon highs in the mid-20s, and let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all, but if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch, maybe even a little more is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8, the afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at SerenityLTC.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
read the room, buddy.
Susie Moore.
I'm tired of your shenanigans.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm.
Get up, St. Louis.
Don't be kind. Don't be gentle. Pimp slap the tut-tutters.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin God.
I like that one. I'm tired of your shenanigans.
Finally, you pay attention.
I pay attention a lot, Jerome.
Okay, not trying to pull the curtain back too much, but I make so many of these way in advance, and then I will hear from either you or from Mike, oh, that's a good new one. No, that's been playing for like over weeks at this point.
Hey, sorry. We're not great multitaskers. Hey, good morning. Speaking of multitasking, we're on the air, aren't we? Welcome into the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie Moore filling in for Mike while he is playing old man baseball in Puerto Rico.
Well, he's sunbathing right now.
Well, I don't know if the sun's quite out yet. Maybe a little early for that, even if they are 2 hours ahead of us. But he is enjoying 80-degree weather. We know that. Got Billy Crow in with us today. Hello,
Good
Billy.
morning.
Welcome
Good morning.
back. Good to have you back.
You know, I was talking to Jerome about this earlier. You know, Mike went to. It's nice, but Puerto Rico, you know, should be a state before Greenland and Canada, but nah, they're not. So it's like you go to a place that actually can be a state. You know, then get back to me.
Puerto Rico.
And I had my Spanish teacher. She was from Puerto Rico, and it would just get her so mad every time. I'd be like, no, that's a colony. You're our colony. No, we are our own country. No. You're our colony.
Territory.
I wonder why I failed that class.
Well, yeah, sometimes teachers hold the ultimate. It's just like in court. You don't want to make the judgment.
That's right. That's right.
Same as teachers. So, we've got so much to cover today. As Jerome was indicating earlier, we've got a couple guests coming up. We've got Ben Keathley, Representative Ben Keathley is going to be on with us about 6:35. Then at 7:35, we're going to have O'Fallon Councilwoman Linda Ragsdale on to let us know what's going on out in O'Fallon, because there's been some tension going on there. But in the meantime, we've got no shortage of news stories to talk with you guys about, not least of which is a follow-up on something that we talked about extensively yesterday, and that is, what was it that guy sprayed on Ilhan Omar?
Okay, so I have seen people making claims about what the substance was, but I did not see anything definitively proving it. So you're telling me that we actually have the definitive proof
It's
now.
been analyzed. It's been analyzed by the professionals. It was apple cider vinegar. I don't really know what the message was. There, we're watching it on screen right now.
He was helping clean it.
I guess.
It's good for your gut health.
Yeah.
Well, and that's consistent because someone there that night said it smelled like vinegar. First of all, they said it smelled really bad, and then they said it smelled like vinegar. And then apple cider vinegar does have a strong smell. So, okay. I know people were speculating. Thankfully it wasn't something like dangerous that could burn somebody or literally hurt them. But
Yeah, I was going to say, I enjoy myself a nice little bit of apple cider vinegar and some water. It's good for your system. But when I saw the syringe photo, I was like, please do not tell me that came out of the individual, because that is some severe kidney damage. If that's the case. But
right. I mean, there was speculation. Was it some sort of bodily fluid? Was it some sort of acid? What could it possibly have been? Well, apple cider vinegar. Now, we know a little bit more about the guy who did it. Well, I'm not going to say I was alleged to have done it because we saw it on video.
Yeah.
The guy they arrested for it, he's like a 55-year-old man who's apparently had some rough times in his life. It sounds for all, it sounds very much like somebody who was just a little bit not thinking right.
Yeah.
I know people still are speculating that it could have been staged, and I can't rule that out. I can't.
Right.
But as of right now, it just sounds like a guy who, maybe had some bad stuff going on and has decided that he was fed up and wanted to make a statement of some sort.
We're not sure what that is yet.
We're not really sure what that is.
Make sure you've got good gut health.
And if he really doesn't, if he doesn't care for Representative Omar and what she stands for, which is perfectly within his rights, he didn't do us do anyone any favors with this, because all it did was make her kind of like a victim.
Yeah, definitely put her up on a little, she had her Trump moment.
She did.
Right?
She did.
And she I think as a politician, she did a good thing in really building herself, her platform up. Right?
I was going to ask what your take was on that, because my initial reaction was, and I can't stand Ilhan Omar. I mean,
right.
I'm trying to not be hateful. I couldn't disagree with her more on just about
right.
anything, and I don't think she's a good actor. And when I say that, I mean behavior-wise.
Right,
I don't mean
right,
drama. I don't think she's good for the country. I don't think she's good for Minnesota, and I don't like her. That said, in that moment right after, I'm like, well, good for her. Like, 'cause she went like right after him, and then she was like, nope, I'm gonna keep going. And I'm like, those were good political instincts.
Yeah, I mean that was like the when Trump the assassination on Trump, when he's got the fight moment, like that was her moment, and she was able to leverage that for her cause.
Sure.
Right, whether you disagree with it or not. So yeah, I think that was that versus like retracting from it, and I think that's one of the things that made people go, "Is this staged?" Because her reaction was so aggressive and so in the right direction, it made people pause and go, wait a minute, was she ready for that? Because if someone's, I'm a pretty aggressive guy, but if someone squirted something on me, I didn't know what the heck it was, like, I'd be a little nervous.
I would be too. Like, what is this? Is this going to start like making my skin fall off or whatever?
Yeah.
So I mean, I do think it raises some additional questions about whether or not there's appropriate safety and security for political leaders, particularly in this environment that we're in right now. But I mean, at some point maybe we're going to hear from him or from somebody representing him as to what his purpose was there. But I don't think there's going to ever be a situation where it really makes a whole lot of sense. And I am again thankful that she wasn't actually hurt by it. That would have been bad. We don't want to make people into martyrs. Somewhat along the same lines, speaking of making people into martyrs, there was a stunning new video that came out yesterday in relation to the Alex Preddy shooting. Now, we've all seen like 3 or 4 different angles of the shooting itself, and people have retreated to their respective camps on what happened and who was in the wrong and who was in the right. And I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of minds changed on that particular situation, even though the investigation is ongoing and there's still more to come from that. But we had learned, I think, the day before yesterday that Preddy apparently had been involved in some sort of confrontation or altercation with federal law enforcement about a week or so prior to the shooting. And in that course of that had been tackled to the ground and had allegedly sustained a broken rib or a cracked rib. That, I think, came out on Sunday, which then sort of raised some questions about, okay, well, he's already kind of gotten into it with federal law enforcement, and, what is his mindset when he's going to these situations? This wasn't really a protest. It was a let's impede an ICE operation or an immigration enforcement operation. So, I think it's fair to question what his mindset was. But this video that came out yesterday was apparently from that incident.
Right.
And it is pretty stunning. He was very aggressive with I think, was that an ICE vehicle or a Border Patrol vehicle? Do we know?
I'm trying to look for any indication on it.
I think that might have been ICE. The shooting actually involved Border Patrol, and I know people use them interchangeably. There is a distinction between them, but either way, they're federal law enforcement. But the incident that was on this video yesterday is from, I think, January 11th or 13th, so maybe about 11 days before the shooting. And he's yelling at, spitting at law enforcement and kicking the vehicle they're in to kick the right tail light out of. And it was after that they come and confront him and take him to the ground. Jerome, you've been studying that closely. What was your reaction when you saw the new video that came out yesterday?
I mean, I wasn't necessarily surprised to find out that this is the kind of antics that he's been up to. Again, my core residual complaint about this entire thing has been whether or not the officer was justified in firing on Preddy after he had been disarmed and more the legality. But it's very clear that this is an individual that's something going on. I have also seen people reporting that the members of the family have said that his behavior had become more erratic, things of that nature. I've not been able to confirm that part.
We need to debunk that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Real quick, there was a story that came out a couple days ago that said the parents had said he quit his job and he'd been really erratic and they were really worried about him. That was a story out of Vietnam.
Okay.
That has been debunked. And, the parents did issue a statement, but it was very brief, and it was basically just saying that they loved their son and were very, upset about what had happened.
Well, and then I can my condolences to them for what
Totally get that.
Yeah.
But based on what I'm seeing here, I mean, this individual was yelling. It sounded like to me, at least, like assault me or hit me or something like that to the officers. The officers are in this video, this new one that I just played for the stream members. They're clearly driving away. They're not even face to face with him, and he's going out of his way. He looks like he spits on the vehicle first while he's yelling stuff. Vehicle's driving away. Then he runs up to the vehicle and essentially does like a really crappy roundhouse kick to knock the back, the taillight out. So I don't think that there can be any doubt left that this individual wanted to be in situations and escalate the situations with these law enforcement individual. The video, it's kind of shaky. I'm trying to go frame by frame, but I can't get a good read on what the badge of the officer said. But the point is that he put himself in that situation, and he is clearly a provocateur and clearly not a very stable individual.
Yeah. I mean, it raises a lot more questions. And again, that doesn't actually affect the analysis of what happened in the shooting in terms of the actual mechanics of that situation, but it does add some additional context to this guy's mindset.
Yeah, and it's just like an escalation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's already there once. He's destroying government property. Like, I mean, I honestly feel like when the officers got out of the car, they had a little bit of restraint on him because, but then to come back and again, it's the whole Second Amendment thing. Is he allowed to bring firearms to that? Absolutely, right? It's a Second Amendment right, but like it's an escalation, right? Why? Why did he feel emboldened to do that?
Yeah. It really does raise some questions, and hopefully we're going to have a chance to talk about it a little bit more later in the show. But a very interesting development and a very interesting case. Shootings are pretty much never good, but there's something extra not good about a shooting at a funeral. We're going to get into that next here on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
What was once considered radical is now mainstream.
On News Talk STL.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri. A full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
JC's Wayback Machine.
Since this is the big sit-around and wait week for football fans, I thought we'd go in an opposite direction this week. Our A-list celebrity interview is with a gal who sang lead vocals for one of the biggest pop bands of the 80s, Susanna Hoffs of the Bangles. I'll tell you why the beautiful Beverly D'Angelo Kissed Me, plus great forgotten tunes from the 90s, 80s, and 70s, all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9, on News Talk STL.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
Somewhere around 400 feet off the ground, RPG came through the belly of the aircraft. When I first got out, I felt like my whole life had been smushed down to just medical appointments. I was going to occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. We don't talk about the female combat wounded. These are our daughters and our sisters and our mothers. I'm not sure I would still be here if I didn't find the Friends and Wounded Warrior Project that I did. Because there was a long period after the injury where I really didn't understand why I was still here. I felt like I had lost everything. Wounded Warrior Project came into my life and taught me how to stand back up and get back in the fight. The truth is, I think we all have this strength inside of us, but until you're tested, you just don't know it's there.
See how Wounded Warrior Project empowers women veterans like Beth by visiting woundedwarriorproject.org/empowerwomenvets.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore in the driver's seat today because Mike is in Puerto Rico and we hate him. No, we don't hate him. We hate that he's there and we're here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we hate. I've got Billy Crow here with me.
Good morning.
I've got Jerome here keeping us upright. Thank you, Jerome.
You're welcome.
And Jerome was he alerted us to this yesterday. There was, unfortunately, now, ironically, it's the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, but whenever you see something about like, oh, something bad just went down in Ferguson, you kind of pay attention. I think we're all still a little primed on that. And unfortunately, there was a shooting in Ferguson, Missouri yesterday inside a mortuary.
Yeah, when I read into the article, it said that it was during a funeral. So,
yeah.
I'm very ignorant on these kinds of medical terms, but is there a difference between a mortuary and a funeral home?
Well, sometimes they're all in one.
Okay.
And I think, mortuary, I think there's different configurations, but I think it's kind of the same thing. And we don't know all of the details of this. There's still pretty scant details on it, but apparently there was a service being held there unfortunately, for an 18-year-old. Mm-hmm. And we don't know the circumstances of that person's death. So you start kind of thinking, okay, was this a situation of retaliation?
Yeah, so reportedly 3 people were confirmed to be injured by gunshots.
Yes.
They were not necessarily listed as in like a very critical or dire situation from what I could see.
Right.
There were no fatalities, but there were also 3 additional people that were injured during the chaos that ensued.
Yeah.
I'd actually, back when I was in high school, one of my good friend's cousins was actually killed due to some sort of dispute, and the people that killed him went to the funeral, and yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you kind of get the feeling that might have been what was going on here. I don't want to get too
it's
speculative.
not confirmed yet. You know,
Right.
we don't have all the information, and obviously, if you're already somewhere in mourning to grieve
It's a sad
somebody,
situation, yeah.
you should
Mm-hmm.
not have to worry about this kind of violence occurring.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was at the Cotton Branch Mortuary on North Florissant Road.
Even the old school mafia got that, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were just places that they're off limits. And
They send you roses, not more bullets.
That's right.
Hell, yeah. Yeah, and thankfully, as Jerome indicated, there were several people shot, but it sounds like their injuries are not life-threatening. They were taken to the hospital, and other people may have been injured in the chaos after that. Kind of, I don't know that they haven't really given us much of an update on that, but my suspicion again is that this was probably a situation where there was some sort of retaliation going on. Bottom line is this: don't shoot people.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of a good rule of thumb, just to begin with. And, don't go to a funeral and shoot people at a funeral. It's just not appropriate.
Well, what does this say about, I guess, our society and our reverence for both life and, I guess, death? If this is where we're at, where things like this are happening. I mean, it seems like there are these, every week there's like a new, weird way that somebody's going out of their way to harm somebody. And it's like, if you cannot, let's assume, just for the sake of discussion, that this might have been a retaliation over something. Mm-hmm. You already got your revenge on the individual. Why then go and further harm the people that are there to grieve the person? Like, what is messed up about our society right now, where this is the logical reason or the lack of logical reasoning skills that people have?
No, I agree with that. I mean, it's just like, we can talk about whether you're criminal or not, right? But like I said earlier, like even the old school mafia knew not to do this because there was standards of respect, of dignity. Like, I may disagree with this person, I may hate this person, but there's a respect and dignity for those around them that aren't in the situation, where that's just not even, if this is a retaliatory hit, or even if it isn't a retaliatory
Either
action, it's just someone doing this, like, there's just no respect there.
Omerta. Isn't that the Italian word for, like, the honor code?
The code, yeah. Well, and that's, again, because it's clear when 3 people are shot, that's not a negligent discharge. It's not like somebody was fiddling with their gun during the service.
Correct.
This is, something happened where somebody's intentionally firing into a crowd of people.
And they said some shots were inside and outside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a lot going on there. There was some intent.
So, I mean, again, I don't like to be too speculative, but if it was a random act of violence, I mean, that's still just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah,
but
either way you shake it.
That's right.
Otherwise, I mean, the only other real alternative is if people are at this funeral mourning and grieving the same person and had a disagreement where somebody decided it was okay to start shooting. I mean,
none of it makes sense.
There's just no reason for it.
And to your point, Jerome, I mean, unfortunately, it's not just the, a comment on the times, because, we've had violence and going back to the very beginning, but we do seem to live at a point where there's a whole lot of just a devaluation of fellow human beings and people not taking others' lives into consideration and not valuing them, and we see it manifested when we hear these stories about shootings and all assaults and all those sorts of things. It's not great. I'm thankful that no one was killed. And hopefully we'll find out a little bit more about what actually happened there. I'm guessing that there'll probably be a little update on that sometime today. But that was kind of a wild local story. Another local story that I did want to talk about, which is on a brighter note, we're coming up on the 100th anniversary of Route 66, which, as you mentioned, Jerome, kind of originates in and around Joliet, Illinois, and goes on out to California.
Yeah, that's the... I guess the burden of being born in that area is that you get your kicks on Route 6. Everybody wants to sing that song to you. It's not that great of a song, but also the only thing we were really known for besides our also shootings and violence is the Blues Brothers, because we had Statesville Prison. My grandfather actually worked there briefly when it was still open, so I got to hear quite a few interesting stories about that. But along, I'm trying to remember, it's like Hollywood and I think Glenwood Road. It's downtown Joliet, but there's like a historical Route 66 markers, but you can actually see the statues of the Blues Brothers. That's like their whole big thing. And it's like, why this one random neighborhood? Nothing else about the city is that themed. It's not like Vegas where it's gambling every.
Sure.
It's just that one. So if you find yourself on Route 66,
go see Jake and Elwood.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, being in St. Louis, from St. Louis, obviously, we've got lots of references to it here because it came through here, and there's lots of mile markers along the way, lots of milestones. They're going to be celebrating it in a bunch of different ways. This article is from Fox 2. Now, there's going to be a Route 66 100th Anniversary Festival at the Missouri History Museum. That's going to run from April 30th to May 5th. That's going to be probably an interesting one. I like the Missouri History Museum does a lot of good stuff. They've actually, they're good with their exhibits and stuff, and it's worth checking out. There's a Centennial Kickoff Celebration in Springfield, also in the spring. We got a Route 66 Cars and Guitar Festival in downtown Kirkwood on June 6th.
You know, if Ted Drews doesn't have a special for that,
I'm
gonna
looking.
be very disappointed.
I'm looking. They should. They should.
They should.
Maplewood's got something going on. Edwardsville's got something going on. Show Me 66 Main Street through St. Louis. Neon Museum. Did you know we have a beef trail?
A what?
Missouri Route 66 Beef Trail. A state initiative that celebrates Route 66 Centennial with premium beef specials at 10 restaurants and diners in the St. Louis region.
Okay.
Oh, including the Red Sea Duane and Pacific, which I love.
Was Route 66 like a cattle herding route or something, or?
I don't.
Just an excuse for
so.
steakhouses to make a deal.
Well, if people were traveling it, they needed to stop and fortify themselves, get their food. Right?
Fair enough. Now, I do need to get on record from both of you. Is it Route 66 or Route 66?
That is a fair question. I think my default is route.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
But when someone says route, I don't go, what are you saying? I mean, I don't know.
It clearly signifies you ain't from around here.
That's true. But I mean, I think that's kind of one of those age-old debates, and I'm not 100% sure. I don't even know if there's maybe both of them are okay.
Either or. That's a
Let
good
us know in the
compromise.
chat box, route or route.
Yeah, make sure to spell. Well, how are they going to spell that though?
Root. R-O-O-T.
Yeah, you can do it phonetically.
Billy for the win. Also, before
I misspell a lot of words.
Now, since Mike is away and gloating about it, I figure that this would be a good opportunity to remind you that we are on our last call for the Flashback Friday bump music. I want your deep cuts. I want your forgotten gems. I want your uncommon favorites from the 80s. So please send me your best forgotten gems and deep cuts for 80s music to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I kicked everybody's ass. Excuse me.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today. Afternoon highs in the mid-20s. And let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all. But if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch. Maybe even a little more is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8. The afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Hey, looking for the ultimate escape? Well, welcome to Santino's, where luxury meets authenticity. Hey, Jamie Allman here, inviting you to browse hundreds of premium cigars in the walk-in humidor, including rare aged cigars, and explore 700 bottles of whiskey. And Santino's offers authentic Sicilian cuisine prepared from scratch. Whether it's their non-smoking wine room, gaming lounge with custom poker tables, or event spaces perfect for any celebration, it's Santino's, just off 55 at the Imperial exit, Santino'sCigarCocktails.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie Moore filling in for Mike with a frog in my throat. Excuse me. Got Billy Crow here with me. We've got Jerome keeping us upright, and we are joined now by Representative Ben Keathley. Ben, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great to have you on. I'm glad you could join us today. We're now 3 weeks, I guess, into the session, and things seem to be moving in the right direction. Obviously, one of the top ticket agenda items for this session has been income tax, rolling the income tax back. I noted the other day that you were in agreement with Governor Kehoe, his messaging on it, which is basically saying the time has come for us to do something about this and figure out how to eliminate Missouri's state income tax. Where do things stand on that?
So we just had the hearing on the original filed bill this week. I think we'll see what direction it goes. It was in the House Commerce Committee yesterday morning. Had a pretty robust hearing with a lot of testimony. I think there's a lot more conversations to be had about, and we'll see how that develops coming through that committee.
So I guess from a procedural standpoint, the next move is it has to be voted out of committee and then will be taken up?
Correct. Yeah. So it's still ways away from the floor. The bill was obviously filed a little later in session instead of because the governor was delivered the state of the state first, and then where he announced it. So the bill's running a little behind, other bills that were pre-filed, but now it's been moving faster, but it took a while to get going. But it just had its first hearing, and then so it wouldn't be available to be voted out of committee till next week at the earliest. But I expect there to be a lot of discussions going on, and I don't know what the timing will be like on that. There's no committee vote scheduled yet on it.
Hey, Ben, Billy Crow here. When it comes to like big red things like this or like school choice, we all get really excited and really fired up. But then when the things hit the House floor, even there's some, Republicans that kind of get a little squishy when it comes to things like school choice. How do you feel like the tenor is of the House and the Senate to get this thing across? Is it going to be a fight, or is this something that, as a whole, like everybody's actually excited about?
I think at least I can say on my side and the Republican caucus, I think everyone's excited about it for the most part. Tax cuts tend to be more expected. There's always some unexpected consternation around the revenue losses that the state would have to deal with. This is a different kind of bill. It seems like there's a lot of revenue replacement going on, and it's really about making the tax code more efficient. Some of us do want to see some type of spending limitations in there too, to know it's going to work. But I think the governor's push means a lot. When the governor gets behind a bill in such a big way and makes it his priority piece, that has a way of bringing a lot more legislators who are normally, who could be squishy on something, bringing them into the fold in a better way.
Yeah, we noticed that from him when we were there for the opening day. I mean, this was something that he was very almost laser focused on, and he's carried that through the State of the State address. And I think that leadership makes a big difference. But speaking of leadership, you just got a leadership position with the Missouri Freedom Caucus, did you not?
I did, yes. This was elected the vice chair of the Freedom Caucus right before the start of session.
Well, congratulations on that. What are the key agenda items from the Freedom Caucus's perspective for this session?
So the Freedom Caucus is, we had our main platform, making Missouri safe again, making Missouri affordable again, making Missouri healthy again, making Missouri free again, and it's all wrapped around those types of things. At the cornerstone of that is limiting government, less spending, less taxation. And more freedom in Missouri through the less government, trying to go through regulatory reform in addition to the tax reform, and really start scaling back down this outgrowth of the administrative state that we've had around us over the last decade.
Ben, I'm from Jefferson County, so when we talk there, a lot of folks, when they hear the Freedom Caucus, they go, "Oh man, those are the rabble rousers." But when it comes to like leadership in the Freedom Caucus and things like tax cut, right? You just said the income tax. It's something everybody's getting behind. The governor is pushing it. There's leadership there on that end. How do you guys get to the other folks that aren't Freedom Caucus members and get them to kind of persuaded to help you get these good free choice things for us in the state of Missouri?
It's really the job gets a lot easier when you realize, and I think a lot of people in the building realize that, we're pushing not by ourselves, but along with the people of Missouri. Freedom Caucus, I think, is really just a lot more in tune with what the people are clamoring for. Personal property tax elimination, real property tax reform, and just less government and more controlled spending. The guardrails on government need to be up. I think the people of Missouri want that, and it makes it a lot easier when, we're not pushing alone. We're pushing with where the voters and the taxpayers really are and what they're demanding. Jeff City just seems to always lag behind that.
Ben, I know one of your focuses, and you alluded to this a little while ago, has been on, breaking through, busting through, and killing the red tape, and really focusing in on that. What are some of the steps that you are taking, or even the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules is taking to do that?
So we've been a lot more aggressive lately with calling for hearings and making these administrative agencies come forward and actually propose the rules. In the past, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, of which I was the chair, and then just recently I had to swap that back to the Senate. And now Nick Shore is the chair with me as vice chair. But we've been a lot more aggressive calling hearings. And what we've found is a lot of these agencies don't want to defend these rules. They've been promulgating rules. They've gotten used to very little oversight. And it's now when exposed to just a little bit of accountability from the legislature, they back down. Things like sales tax on credit card processing fees, unnecessary fees on elevator inspections from the government on small businesses, things like healthcare paperwork to build new facilities, which restricts the expansion of healthcare throughout our state through the certificate of need process. These are all things we've gotten some serious movement on, been able to stop bad rules that are harming Missourians, families and businesses. And so the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, I would look for that to get a lot more aggressive. And we've had a lot of initial success at shrinking government through that.
Now, you listed off a couple things there that are, I think, some big ones, right? But is there one piece in particular that you feel like would be a game changer when it comes to those regulations for small businesses in Missouri?
Well, I have a bill that's actually being heard today in the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, being heard at 10:30 this morning. It's the REINS Act. That is a game changer for regulatory reform. What that basically does is it kind of flips the script. Rather than last year, we passed judicial non-deference, which allowed the courts to presume that agency rules that don't have a basis in statute are invalid rather than valid. And this is the legislative side of that. This allows the legislature to have to approve rules rather than just having an arduous process whereby sometimes we might be able to suspend a rule. The rules should start out with legislative oversight. That should be the normal, not the exception.
Right. I mean, that's the role of legislation legislators is to legislate, right?
Correct. But what we have now is a lot of government through unelected bureaucracy. You look at the federal government and how much of a mess that's become. And it's largely because you have a legislative body that has just completely stopped doing its job and delegated all of its work and assignment and authority to unelected bureaucrats. We don't want to see that happen in Missouri. The administrative agency has just ballooned over the last couple decades. In the Chevron era, is over from the courts, and it's time that we start taking more power back for the people's chamber.
Now, let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because the bureaucrats might say, "Hey, listen, we're professionals. We went to college for this stuff. We're here all the time. You guys are only here for 16 years at the max, and then you guys term out, and we're going to be stuck here. Like, we know how to run the ship. Let us run the ship." What do you say to that pushback? That I've heard from even at the county level or the city level, the employees saying, "We know how to do our job. Let us do our job."
Well, and I say the taxpayers know how to spend their money. You can't claim to be the adult or the expert in the room when you're spending someone else's money, and it all relies on that. But it's a very real mentality that bureaucracy thinks they're the experts that has to save the people from themselves. Mm-hmm. But it's fundamentally un-American. We have an elected government, and the government must be responsive to the taxpayers and voters.
Ben, you mentioned that committee hearing is being held this morning. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the topics are going to be of the hearing and maybe some of the witnesses?
So I can certainly speak to my bill. I think there are a couple other items before that committee. But the REINS Act basically it requires the legislature when rules are proposed, they can't go into effect until the legislature actually approves those. And we have mechanisms in place for reviewing rules. Like I said, it's usually done through the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. However, that's been not really used, and it's difficult to use that to an extent. There's a long drawn out process that the rule goes through first. And by the time it makes it to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, it's pretty much at the end of that process. And you have to take several steps in order to get through and suspend it. What we're trying to do is streamline that process, make sure the rules get slowed down a little bit before they can go into effect, and make sure there's actual legislative buy-in. There's actually people who are elected to serve who are reviewing these rules before they go into effect, not after the fact.
Are there any additional key agenda items that you want people to have on their radar as far as this session and what might be coming up?
Yeah, the big one is obviously is income tax. I think along with income tax is property tax. I think that the people have been very clear. We did convene the special committee throughout the summer and fall, going all over the state, listening to people. I And I think we need a lot more rules coming in from, on the Hancock Amendment. The Hancock Amendment over the last several decades has kind of been eroded and loopholed into nothing, where we see rising school board taxes and all our real property taxes, the assessments, everything has gone out of control. Missourians are really feeling the pinch, and that is something that, along with income tax, we need to take up. I expect also today that I believe that Special Committee on Property Tax Reform will be holding a vote on the One Big Beautiful Property Tax Bill that myself and the chairman of that committee, Tim Taylor, have brought forward. It has several provisions that aim to put guardrails up on the property tax making system and make sure that there's no more of these passive tax increases, that the Hancock Amendment can be re-strengthened so voters are actually approving tax increases and seeing them.
And so that's a committee vote that's going to be held today on that issue?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
At the same time as my REINS Act, we're scheduled for a committee vote on that.
So if people want to kind of follow along and see what you guys are doing and getting accomplished, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can always follow me on Twitter at Ben Keath, BenKeath. And then the House website has all the hearing schedules. At this juncture, things are still kind of slowly moving through the process on their way to the floor. Take a look at that calendar, see what's coming up. Pay attention to the rules committees, because that gives you a sneak preview of what's on its way. And the things that are out of the gate early often are the things that seem to have the most priority or the most push behind them. So this is the juncture to try to, if you're trying to see what is the legislature going to do this year, pay attention to the calendar early on, and it'll tell you.
All right. Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks. You too. President Trump teased prosecutions over the 2020 election last week when he was at the World Economic Forum. I think that raised some eyebrows. He said he might even be making some news. And then yesterday, we saw some additional maybe related news. Are we about to actually see something materialize in relation to that? We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
People talk about federal money as if it falls from heaven. We thank heaven for it, but it came out of people's pockets.
On News Talk STL. If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Looking for the perfect way to say I love you this Valentine's Day? Anthony's Produce has you covered. Get our amazing combo special. 1 dozen beautiful roses and 1 dozen delicious chocolate-covered strawberries for just $39.99. It's romance made easy. Available February 9th through the 15th only, so don't wait. Order online at anthonysproduce.com. Call 636-936-0496 or visit us at 701 Jungerman Road.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribue, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Louis Gohmert, he's a former congressman.
Bob Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
Pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. And so I snuck my transistor radio in my shirt and had the little earpiece into my ear and tried to keep my head turned where the teacher wouldn't see, but was listening to the World Series in class.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. And speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Oh, Todd, you have no idea how wacky. Because Mike's not even here. It's Susie, it's Billy, it's Jerome, and we're just, the cat's away, so the mice are playing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Todd and I went to high school together, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah, we go way back. His wife's in my class, so.
Okay,
it's all in the
hold
family.
on a second. I got to know. Was he that weird back then, too?
Animated?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't know him that well. His brother was in my class. Todd was a year or two ahead of us, and I didn't know him that well. But my suspicion is yes.
I mean, he's the kind of guy, if there was a group of people laughing, it seems like he was probably in the middle of it.
I think so. I think that's fair.
I'm going to choose to believe the opposite. I think he was like a valedictorian straight shooter, and then got exposed to some radiation, kind of like a superhero, but it was the opposite. It made him like super funny.
Yes, I love it.
Didn't happen.
I love it.
No,
I'm going to believe it regardless.
Well, we've got some big news coming out of Georgia yesterday. This one kind of caught everybody by surprise. The FBI raided Fulton County election hub, and this was just, as I mentioned, a week or so after President Trump kind of alluded to there may be prosecutions on the way in relation to the 2020 election. Now, I know that's going to set some people's teeth on edge, and we're going to have a lot of pushback on the notion that there was anything untoward in relation to that election, even though President Trump will tell you it was rigged. But this was kind of interesting. I don't know if you'd had a chance to see that story, Billy.
No, other than when you sent it to me, I was like, oh, this is exciting. Something's happening.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Everybody gets up in arms about the idea of like, oh, there's no election fraud, this and that. It's like, I'm sorry, especially in the Deep South. Like, there was a reason that the federal government had to step in and pay attention to their elections, because the Democratic Party learned since Reconstruction was over, we know how to rig elections, and we're going to do it, and we're going to disenfranchise people.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, and I understand the partisan gamesmanship there as well, but most rational people, I think, should agree. We want our elections to be above board.
That's right.
We want, I do. I obviously prefer people to win that I agree with, but I want it to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be because someone stuffed a ballot box someplace.
Right. Yeah, and I think the idea of when everybody gets upset about looking into it, it's like, why?
Wow.
If there's nothing to hide, why? And it's just like the whole thing of the what was that, the law that just passed or whatever, to not put ICE agents by polling places. Like, why?
Yeah, why is that an issue?
That's right.
Shouldn't be an issue. No, the transparency should be interesting. And so we got a little bit of a glimpse of what they were. And this was a search warrant. This wasn't like a subpoena. Mm-hmm. This was an actual search warrant. It implies that there is a criminal investigation underway, and it was a pretty broad group of documents and items that they were basically seeking in relation to that. Now, here's another little interesting twist that ties back into Missouri. Are you ready for this?
All right.
The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and FBI Deputy Director Andrew Bailey were on the scene today as the FBI executed the search at Fulton County. That means that both Gabbard and Bailey are in some way involved in this investigation. There's some speculation that this could also be kind of emanating. There's a grand jury in Florida. We know that's going on in is it the Middle District, Northern? I can't remember which district it is in Florida. It's the one it's where Palm Beach County is, mm-hmm. and they impaneled a grand jury a couple months ago, and they, in connection with that, have the ability to, have search warrants beyond their jurisdiction. Right. In other words, so this could be related to that. This could all be tied into that. It's still speculative. I know people aren't going to be happy unless and until they see actual prosecutions happening. Right. And I agree, as long as there's something that's a legitimate basis for prosecution, then it should be.
I agree. Like you said, there's people on both sides. There's the people that are like, don't look into it. There's nothing behind the curtain. Like, you're evil for looking into it. And then there's other folks that are like, unless everyone's thrown in jail, you're hiding something. But it's probably something in the middle.
Right.
And when time will tell, and just being able to actually look at the man behind the curtain and see what's actually going on. Now, the article that you sent was one from Red State,
mm-hmm.
and I love this article. My favorite line, and hold on a second, I'll look for it, where he said that they elected Joe Biden even though he had the personality and charisma of a meat tenderizer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, that is some great writing from Red State right there.
Yeah, Trump has long questioned the results of the 2020 election, where Joe Biden defied explanation by garnering over 81 million votes, the most in American presidential election history, despite having all the charisma of a meat tenderizer. Hey, you know what? I mean, it was a weird time. It was the middle of COVID. There was a lot going on, but there's no question that there were some weird stuff in relation to that election. Now, whether that changed the outcome,
right?
I'm not going to make an argument about that. I don't know, but it does need to be looked at.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's not irrational or unreasonable to point out the fact how many millions of people that voted for Biden in 2020 that didn't even show up to a vote for either Harris or Trump in 2024, and the fact that many states were quite literally fighting ID laws for voting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that everything was fraudulent, but could not that be... It's not irrational for somebody to be putting one and one together and saying, oh, well, I mean, people could have been abusing these blue state laws that are preventing people from identifying themselves to vote, right?
Nonsense, Jerome. It's completely irrational. You're an election denier. My God, what are we doing? How can you even imagine it? How can you even contemplate that? Yeah, I mean, I am not alone in this. I still have, a bit of a trauma reaction to thinking back to that time frame where it was like you were looking around going, did that really go down that way? Something doesn't quite seem right. And I don't want to be, Miss tinfoil hat here. And if
that's my job.
Yeah, I'll leave that to Jerome. But if Biden won, we dealt with 4 years of his presidency. God love us all. But I mean, I do still have questions, and if this investigation is going to help us get to the bottom of what actually happened, whether it was criminal or not, then I'm all for it.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. I mean, it can't be, and hopefully it's not a milquetoast answer like we've gotten with the Epstein files of, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I don't think that will fly, but.
Well, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard also did say they had proof of treason by President Obama, and he's still walking around.
That's right.
Willy-nilly,
That's
so
exactly right.
You got to build a case. You got to build a case. Just saying.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. A spirited defense of Trump foreign policy by a man who plays a key role in implementing that policy. Secretary of State Rubio took on all comers in a Capitol Hill hearing the other day.
Appearing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Rubio staunchly defended President Trump's military operation to capture Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, and he claimed there's good and decent progress being made in that country. For the most part, Republicans praised the Venezuelan operation, while Democrats were skeptical and wanted more transparency. Rubio also discussed the administration's approach to Greenland, NATO, Iran, and China. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A somber warning about Ukraine. A new report forecasting 2 million military casualties, a result of Russia's war, by this spring.
It says Russia would suffer the largest number of troop deaths recorded for any major power in any conflict since World War II. Tuesday's report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies came less than a month before the 4th anniversary of Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The report said Russia suffered 1.2 million casualties between February 2022 and December 2025. It estimated that Ukraine, with its smaller army and population, had suffered between 500,000 and 600,000 of their own. I'm Lawrence Brooks.
The FBI is stepping up its investigation into allegations of election fraud in Georgia in the 2020 election. President Trump continues insisting the balloting was rigged and that actually he won big in Georgia. Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar has made it official. She says that she is in the running for governor of Minnesota after incumbent Tim Walz announced that he would not seek re-election. On Wall Street, the Dow futures 21 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Is your dog a picky eater, scratching all the time, eating grass, or licking their paws until they're raw? If so, your dog's trying to tell you something. Greetings, naturopathy Dr. Dennis Black, founder of Rough Greens here, and you may not know what your dog means, but I do. They're trying to tell you that his digestive tract is in distress. He needs live probiotics and enzymes, and guess what? You can't get that from kibble. It's not in there. The good news is you don't have to change his food to improve his health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens. It's America's #1 nutritional dog supplement for a reason. With live vitamins, omega oils, antioxidants, enzymes, and probiotics, just sprinkle it on your dog's food and watch them come back to life. More energy, shinier coat, better digestion, all in 90 days or less. Want a happier, healthier dog? I'll send you a free Jumpstart trial bag. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. Use discount code PICKY. That's RUFFgreens.com. Discount code PICKY. Rough Greens. So good, your dog will ask for it by name.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today. Afternoon highs in the mid-20s. And let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all. But if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch, maybe even a little more, is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8, the afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Mike Ferguson.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
Susie Moore.
They should not be part of polite society.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I love how Jerome always looks like he's making like a sacrifice to the gods with his cup of coffee or his drink.
Well, so the first time that I ever did the Kofifi dance, I panicked and I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, you could make the coffee, and then at the end it's like Lion King, like, you know, or I'm cheers into the audience, but it's like that Lion King. Like...
Yes, you're holding it up. I love that. I love that part of it. Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie Moore filling in for Mike while he is basking in the warmth of Puerto Rico. I've got Billy Crow here with me. I've got Jerome here with me, and there's no shortage of topics for us to cover. I want to get back to that Alex Preddy video, but before we do that, real quick, I did want to touch on something that was announced yesterday that I thought was very interesting by the Trump administration. President Trump himself announced this. He's appointed a new federal fraud czar. So this person is going to be, his name's Colin McDonald. He's going to be the first ever Assistant Attorney General for National Fraud Enforcement. Well, I think that's fascinating. I mean, fraud has obviously been front and center and a big topic of conversation of late, especially, since we've seen a whole lot of it manifesting in Minnesota. We know it's going on in California. It's probably going on all over the country. I don't even think there's red states that are immune from some degree of fraud. And the fact that they are making sort of a separate cutout under the heading of the DOJ to focus primarily on that is, I think, a good thing.
I always find it funny. Looking at fraud's a good thing, but the idea of, like, we're going to create another federal bureaucracy to watch all the other federal bureaucracies.
Well, that's a fair point. And I think if he were creating like a federal Department of Fraud department type thing, I would be a little less enthusiastic about it. This is basically somebody who's going to be reporting to the Attorney General. It's just like adding another position within the DOJ, but that's going to be kind of like a division that's going to focus primarily on that issue. And I think with the level of it that we're seeing, I mean, when we're talking about billions and billions of dollars,
yeah,
I think it's probably warranted. And I will say this. I am privy to some information behind the scenes about some things. One thing that anybody who is just paying attention, you don't have to have inside information on, could look and recognize is that the DOJ is overloaded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's so many threads for them to pull and unravel if they want to kind of right the ship, basically. Yeah. And this is just one of them. So having somebody that's focused on this particular issue, kind of with a direct reporting to the Attorney General, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think there's another piece of this. When you're looking at all this fraud and in these dollars, some of these federal dollars get run through state fundings and things like that. When Trump, I guess it was in his first term, where basically said you can't write off your state taxes anymore on your federal taxes. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of people I know that kind of got upset about that, but I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, our federal tax dollars are subsidizing California, Minnesota, New York, like that. They've got to pay for their own fraud now. They can't subsidize through tax credits, and little things like that are going to add up to, dry the well for all these fraudsters.
It's. I think it's one of those things that's very easy to get because the scale of what we're talking about in terms of the money, the dollars spent is so gargantuan that you can't really wrap your head around it. So you get to a point where you just kind of tune it out.
Yeah.
But we can't afford to tune it out.
Right.
So I guess I'm in favor of doing what we can to at least start getting to the bottom of it and eliminating the ability for these fraudsters and the waste even to go on.
I mean, it sounds good on paper, but how many more bureaucracies and departments and everything else do we need? We have an entire FBI. We have an IRS. We have, all these different branches of government and the departments that are supposed to be should have by now at least had some sort of oversight into what's going on and to have like a team of people to check on this to make sure that wasteful spending and fraudulent spending and the dark budgets and all that stuff are not going on. And yet here we are with more taxes than ever, more employees or more departments of government than ever. And yet somehow it just seems to be more elements for fraud to occur.
I think that's a very fair argument. I think you guys have both raised a very fair point. I don't quite have that reaction to this particular announcement just based on the structure that they're talking about here. But, is this person, are we going to see results from this? We need to.
Yeah.
And if we
absolutely.
don't, then yeah, you can just argue that it's just a big waste. We talked about this earlier in the show, but I do want to get back to it because this newest video that came out yesterday. And at first, people were like scrambling to verify, like, is this a verifiable thing? Has it been authenticated? Is it AI? Because that's an issue in relation to this in particular. But this video does appear to be legit. It's been authenticated by the BBC. They basically did an analysis, both a facial recognition analysis, gait analysis, and some other methods of authenticating the video. And it does appear to show, I'm watching him right now, a man that looks very, very much like Alex Preddy and not like the MS Now AI enhanced version of him, going after a federal law enforcement vehicle, spitting at it, yelling at it, kicking the taillight out, and then being wrestled to the ground by officers, which would be consistent with the report that we heard that he did have a bruised or broken rib from a prior scuffle. Again, that doesn't mean the shooting was justified.
Right.
We don't know yet. We've got to wait for the investigation to be completed on that. And it may turn out that there's blame to go all around.
Yep. I understand that. But the thing with this is it's just this escalatory nature that we see. And then the rhetoric, by folks like Tim Walz and those up there in Minnesota, that, again, that's, increasing and amplifying. And like this guy goes out and kicking a car. And the next time he comes out, he's, for lack of a better term, armed to the teeth. Like, again, constitutional right, but there's an escalation there. And what would have happened next if that firearm wouldn't have discharged? We don't know. Like, I don't know, but it just seems like this whole situation is getting more and more escalatory. And you guys played the clip earlier in the week of the Antifa guy that like literally is like, we need to go kill them all. Like, it is bizarre and disgusting.
It doesn't help. You mentioned like the leadership. It doesn't help when you have someone like Tim Walz, who's the governor of the state. He should be the one stepping up and leading here, and he's saying that these aren't real law enforcement.
Right.
Well, I don't even know what that's based on. Like, you can say we don't agree with this type of law enforcement and we don't want to be part of this, arguably. But the falsehoods that have come out of him have stoked the flames here.
I mean, if Tim Walz was an intelligent person, he would have said these are ICE agents, Border Patrol are not police officers in the sense of like local police. They should not be policing the streets. That is factually correct.
Yeah.
And that's something we should all be able to agree with.
Absolutely.
Right. But because Tim Walz is not an intelligent person, I mean, he might have a average IQ, but he's not handling the situation very good. And if this is what he intends to do, it's very bad. He is using language that is putting the wrong idea of what is acceptable to do to ICE and Border Patrol agents because they're not cops. And this whole thing, I'm not saying it would absolutely not be a thing, but the moment there was a recent incident where actual local law enforcement showed up to back up ICE in Minnesota because they didn't want this to continue happening. You know what happened? The local law enforcement was dealing with the crowd. The ICE people were doing the thing. Nobody got hurt.
That's right. Yeah.
There were a few agitators that were intentionally being violent and provoking. They got arrested. The rest of the crowd completely fine, but nobody got killed.
In other words, it operated the way it was supposed to.
If this had been and this is supposed to be how it is based on, again, Texas and Florida right now have like the largest by far number of deportations right now. We're not seeing footage coming out of there of people acting crazy and assaulting and getting harmed because local law enforcement's there to uphold the local laws.
Yes.
And they're part of the community. They know the people better, while ICE is doing ICE things, which they are issued warrants to do. So it should be that simple. But when you say, hey, law enforcement, don't go help the ICE people, and by the way, protesters, these aren't valid law enforcement, then you give them the impression that you can do whatever you want to these people, and then if they do anything back to you, they're out of line.
Yeah.
We saw that with the way both Renee Good and Alex Preddy acted in these situations. And again, I'm not saying either of them deserve to be shot. I'm sorry that both of them are dead. I am. But you saw with the way that they behaved, like they didn't think the rules applied to them. They didn't think they were obligated to comply with law enforcement. And I understand bristling against that. I understand pushing back against it and not wanting to. I'm resenting it, whatever. But that's not the way you handle that situation. The way, if you disagree with how you're treated by law enforcement, you take that up at a later stage. You don't confront them physically. You don't defy them. You don't put your car in drive and drive towards them. And unfortunately, we've seen that happen. And I just think it's been the leadership from the Democrats has been abysmal on this. Dick Durbin, just on the floor of the Senate, used that AI video or AI picture of the shooting. Okay, that picture's been debunked. I don't know, and we talked about this the other day. There's a picture of allegedly taken as a still from one of the video of the Alex Preddy shooting, and it shows, it's almost like a reenactment of that iconic photo of the, I can't even think of what the historical reference is. It's like the officer standing over him with the gun right at the back of his head, and it's a horrific looking picture, but it's a fake picture.
So just to be explicitly clear, from the research that I've done, it appears to be that somebody took a still frame from the video, but because of how low quality it was, they used AI to try to digitally enhance it to get a better view of what was happening. But as we know, when things are not clear to the AI, it starts to try to self-correct.
And its bias comes out, and it is biased.
And then all of a sudden, it looks like a guy without a head.
Right. You have a headless officer with a bionic leg and
6 fingers.
Yeah.
And people are running with that as if this is somehow a valid thing. And it's ridiculous. I mean, case in point for how our government's being run right now. How did none of the staffers sit there and pick up on that? I mean, why would you let him go out there with that photo like that?
Or it's deliberate.
And that's also a very good case as well. I think that's really the unfortunate thing of what's going on right now as well. And I'm not saying, I mean, I went to one of the hands-off, what was still called the hands-off protests. I stopped by for a minute just to see what it was about. I was armed legally in Missouri.
Yeah.
I was within my rights. I did not touch anybody.
I was gonna say, you didn't pick a fight with anybody, did you?
I did not ram my vehicle into anybody.
Right.
I did not start shouting and throwing stuff. I asked a couple questions. I got bored. I left. Then I went to one of the No Kings ones. Same exact thing. I was armed. Nobody probably knew I was armed because all I did was ask questions, got bored, and left. These people want in their minds to feel like they are some sort of revolutionary, that in the history books they will talk about it like, the resistance of France against the Nazis.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to do, I respect your right to protest, but look at the piles of corpses that are left by history for the revolutionaries and the people that want to act like that, and realize these are the ICE and Border Patrol. They have armor, they have firearms, they've got training, and you don't have any of that. And so it's unfortunate your mindset
You're
put
romanticizing it
it's
all.
unfortunate you're romanticizing it, but be smart. And if you would just stay a few feet back and still yell whatever you're yelling, they wouldn't be touching you.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I think there's another piece to this, how the left, in my opinion, has a very low view of value of human life, and I think we see that just through like the abortion issues that they talk about. But even in this, like, they've got 2 of their own that have died, right? And they're making them into these martyrs. They're using their image to get more funding. They're using they're talking about having in Jefferson County a candlelight vigil for this gentleman. That has nothing to do with us. It is a fundraising sham using this guy's tragic death to benefit their cause.
It does.
Well, if you're planning on going to a protest for any reason, 1, be smart about it, but 2, make sure you've got the free NewsTalk STL app downloaded, so if they're chanting wild things or you get stuck in traffic, you can just pop your earbud in, tune it all out, and listen to your favorite News Talk content.
Columbo and Company.
New DHS report claims nearly 3 million illegal aliens have left the U.S. in the last 12 months. We'll discuss this Thursday. Plus, Virginia Kruder from the Daily Wire and Dr. Randy Tobler.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on NewsTalk-STL.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
What if your body could actually repair itself and not just mask pain? This week on the show, we've got Dr. Nick Hassenfratz, and he is an expert in regenerative medicine. He's going to reveal how cutting-edge therapies help you rebuild joints, move better, and stay younger longer. This is the future of medicine. Make sure you tune in.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams. If you've been targeted or suspect price gouging, report it to our office at 800-392-8222 or online at ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
And then the media.
1019 and 94.1.
They lying about what's going on in America. They lying about it.
News Talk STL.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Welcome back to Mike Ferguson in the morning without Mike Ferguson. Susie Moore here. Jerome here.
Yep.
Billy Crow here.
Morning.
Morning. Hey, you alluded to this earlier, Jerome, but we actually have seen some arrests taking place with regard to anti-ICE rioters. There was a situation, it was kind of on the outskirts of Minneapolis, so I think it was like the Maple Grove Police Department, which actually did its job and helped enforce crowd control and therefore the unrest that was being, visited upon that community was dealt with and handled. We also had the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, back in Minneapolis yesterday on the ground there and making the point that that there'd been 16 arrests of anti-ICE rioters in relation to some of the ongoing unrest there. So they are taking it seriously. The federal government is, the DOJ is. They are bringing prosecutions where they can. They are meeting some resistance from the court system in some instances. And in some instances, that might be because they didn't dot their I's and cross their T's. I mean, sometimes there's legitimate reasons why something doesn't go forward or has to be adjusted before it can go forward. But they are actually taking it seriously. You got something?
I'm reading through the Red State article, and the fact that the exact legal code that I've been citing, 18 U.S.C. 111, this entire time, is what they reference as their justification for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes!
Yes.
Maybe they were listening to me.
For those who don't speak U.S. code, it's assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees. Basically, it's assaulting or impeding of federal law enforcement.
And when it comes to DHS versus DOJ, because this one applies to federal agents blanketly.
Blanketly, yeah. It's not just one department.
Because there are some that are only DOJ, there are some that are only DHS. Sometimes they overlap. So, but yes, if you do what Renee Good did, even without her driving away, just by her impeding, and then if, let's say, she had driven, then she decided to stop because there was somebody in front of her, like a rational adult would, she would have still been considered an obstructionist, and she could still be charged with this exact statute.
Yeah, and you can make the argument that Alex Preddy broke the law before the situation where he was then disarmed and shot, but because he came into contact with and was impeding a federal law enforcement officer. And again, you can empathize with the fact that, okay, he saw the woman fall down and he was trying to come to her assistance and his instincts took over. Okay, but once you kind of cross that line, once you impede or, confront somebody who's in the process of federal law enforcement, you are breaking the law.
I think that's a good point, too, of the impediment, because so many, especially on the left, you're talking, these protesters, it's just a protest, they're out here No, they're actually, they're impeding. I mean, if you see the videos with them with their whistles, with their, getting, in the officers' faces, while they're executing these warrants, it's not like, hey, we're protesting, we're at the city square protesting, having a vigil or whatever, having speakers come like your traditional protest. No, they're actually impeding law enforcement from doing their job.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big constitutional rights guy. The Bill of Rights is, fantastic document that needs to be preserved. I also am the type of guy where I hate when we say we are a nation of law and order when we should be saying we should be a nation of morals and ethics. But the resounding issue is that these are all laws that have been on the books since before even George Bush Jr. was in office. I mean, that's my entire lifetime.
It's not an executive order from Donald Trump.
And so to have people say, well, it's the right to protest. Well, the First Amendment's peaceful assembly. Now, there are Supreme Court rulings that go further into what constitutes as a protest, but the idea that just because you're somewhere and you do whatever you want means you're protesting is not valid. The more that I look into a lot of these laws, is this administration is actually not enforcing, like coming down with the severity of the full hammer like they could be if they really wanted to. And I think that because people don't know what the laws out there and the protocols are, that they assume that they're the fascist state's coming after you. And no, it's actually the opposite. They were being extremely lenient, but now it's gotten to a point where people are escalating it and you have no choice but to start really establishing that you're going to enforce laws.
You won't convince anybody on the left or anybody that can't stand Donald Trump of that. But the fact of the matter is that the administration has been extraordinarily restrained. One of the prime issue that Donald Trump was swept into office on was something that he campaigned on, and this is not a surprise to anybody, and that was rolling back and undoing the damage that was done by our open borders policy, which for 4 years basically allowed millions of people to enter the country illegally. And no one ever said, and anyone who thought it was going to be easy to address that and remove people from the country who are not supposed to be here, would have been naive. But yeah, I mean, I can put my Spock hat on, or my lawyer hat on, and look at these things and go, okay, I don't like the visuals of there being like this violence and this confrontation. I don't like that at all. I don't want people being shot and killed. I don't want that happening. But I can also look and recognize this administration has been extraordinarily restrained under the law and the laws that it is entitled to and actually bound to enforce. I don't know. I don't know. Each situation is going to have to kind of unfold, and there's going to be investigations, and there's going to be legal battles over them. But to your point, the right laws are being enforced here. When people are doing this, they're actually being met with their legal consequences.
And I think that talking about trying to untangle it, how hard it's going to be. You look at there's a method to the left's madness, right? Like they knew. We're gonna do everything we can to let as many people over as possible, because the more people there are, the harder it's going to be for someone to undo what we did. The more messy it is, the harder it's going to be to
overwhelm
undo,
the system,
right? And then you get Donald Trump that says, hold my Diet Coke because we're about to untangle it, right? I mean, he's got the Gordian knot, and he's just like sword right down the middle, right? We're gonna cut it. We're gonna do it, and that's hard, and it's incredible because it takes a non-politician. Whether you like Trump or you hate Trump, I mean, he's not really a politician. He is a salesman, right? And it takes someone that doesn't have a politician's mindset of worrying about reelection to say, hey, I'm going to do what I think is right, whether or not I'm going to get reelected or not. And, he's playing with house money now because he doesn't, he's about to be termed out, and he's worried about making sure he does what he told the people he got elected on, right?
Yeah, and the thing he has to, the tightrope that he has to walk right now is it does him no good if midterms come along and Democrats take control of one or both of the houses of Congress, because then that's going to really stymie any of his efforts. And he knows that. He's clearly focused in on that. So he has to walk that line of keeping, Republican voters energized and enthusiastic and supportive of what the administration and Republicans in Congress are doing, so that they will come out and vote and not take it for granted and not be turned off, while at the same time not ginning up the left and the Democrats to come out and oppose it. It's not an easy thing. But I because of my legal background, I have become the de facto, lawsuit wrangler, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them involving this administration, and particularly in the immigration realm. I've learned more about immigration law than I ever even thought I would, ever have reason to do. And I still don't know a whole lot about it. But it's the battle's being waged on multiple fronts. It's being waged in the streets. We're seeing that. It's being waged in the courts. It's being waged in the halls of Congress. It's being waged in the media. And, I don't know what it's going to look like on the other side of it. Yeah. But I get frustrated when I see people addressing it purely out of emotion. And that happens on both sides of the aisle. I'm not saying it's just the left that does it. Maybe they do it a little bit more. But it's frustrating because it's like, okay, but if you just take a step back and actually look at the issue and say, okay, how is this supposed to be handled? How are we supposed to be addressing this? What's the right way to do this that's best for the country? You can find, probably a good 60, 70% of the people that will generally agree on, overall concepts. But then it gets yanked into these partisan battles, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's so many good ideas out there on how to fix different things, and like we have a process, like the judicial and the executive aren't there out there to be their own government in the win there. Like we've got the legislative process, like get this stuff across the finish line, work together. But then you've got the poison pill that comes up, and it's always there, right? And then all of a sudden it divides everyone.
We're going to see that play out over the next couple of days because we don't know what's going to happen with the funding of DHS and this potential shutdown, and we could be right back in a shutdown. But
well, as long as they're taking my taxes, it's not a government shutdown.
That's fair point. Fair point. There's a big event coming up in February that we want to tell you about. We've been mentioning it. It's the Freedom 13 Support Our Troops Gala Night. That's February 27th. It's going to be taking place on a Friday. It's at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles, Missouri from 6 to 11 p.m. It helps support not just Jared Schmitz, but all of his fellow heroes and honor them. So if you want tickets, go check it out at NewsTalkSTL.com. We've got a little entry there that you can find, and you can click there for tickets and help support them in the Freedom 13.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today. Afternoon highs in the mid-20s. And let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all. But if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch. Maybe even a little more is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8. The afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
John Beal knows it right after a hailstorm. New roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit Vincent'sJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
The numbers are not precise, but it is to say that the number of illegal Iranians in the U.S. is at least 500, maybe 1,000, maybe more. ICE detention centers are overcrowded, but there is a solution being offered. Let's open the doors and let all the Iranians out. Wait, I'm not done. Open the doors, let them out. In fact, give them a plane ride back to Iran. Iran now says it's willing to take those illegals because the ICE facilities where they're being treated are so poorly operated, crowded, diseases like measles, basically no hygiene, and the food ranks below what we feed our pets. So if you're Iranian, here basically illegally with all those bad conditions, raise your hand if you want a free trip back to Iran. That will give you plenty of jail space because they've been killing prisoners in Iran. Now, I'm betting the hygiene and basic care is worse than what you're getting in the States. But if you want to go home, sign up for a free ticket. Now, you might also ask, does the ticket include a coffin? Because one way or the other, those who defected Iran will pay.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Why are you going to work? It's Sunday.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL. JC's Sunday Showgram.
This is eagle watching season up in Alton. We'll have fascinating eagle facts this week. Also, a list of some of the worst bosses I've ever had. There's no shortage in the St. Louis radio business. Plus, we'll return to Moscow, our trip 1990, for the opening of the first Rusky McDonald's, all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday morning, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on NewsTalkSTL.com.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
We talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
101.9 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore filling in for Mike while he basks in the glory of Puerto Rico and the 80-degree warmth there, and we rather hate that. Billy Crow's here with me. He is keeping us company today. We've had a lively conversation, and if we can connect with her, we're going to talk to our friend Linda Ragsdale, who is a city council member from the city of O'Fallon. There's been a lot of interesting stuff going on there. She can definitely give us some insight into that if we're able to connect with her. Billy, you've got some experience as a council member, don't you?
I do, and we were talking a little bit about it off air, of like how it gets kind of heated and gets personal. There's just something about doing that kind of battle with your neighbor, someone you're gonna have to show up to church to your school to pick up the kids next to. It's
right.
It's very personal, and it's one of those things when you get when you're at the State House, you still come home, but like you're at the State House away from your constituents, and you go home away from your fellow legislators, but then you're again on the city county council, like you guys are in it. Elbows deep every day.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that raises a good point because so much of our dialogue these days is online and impersonal in a way. But when you are actually governing, you've got people that are in the same space, literally face to face, and hammering out hard stuff. We're joined now by Linda Ragsdale, who is a city council member for the city of O'Fallon, Missouri. Linda, welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Oh, good. I'm so glad that we can connect with you because not only for people who don't know, Linda's a good friend, but she's also, as I said, a council member for the City of O'Fallon Council, and there's been a lot of interesting sort of tense developments there lately, and I know you've been on the station to talk about that a little bit, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us about what's the latest going on. That there's disagreements obviously with the mayor and the council and between the council members. Can you fill us in on what's going on with that?
Gosh, it's hard to put that in such a short period of time, but one of the most recent gaffes has been we took a vote on, I think it was January 15th. It had been a project that we've been working on for quite some time, and the final outcome, I had some questions. It was about some tax abatements for a sports complex that was coming into the city of O'Fallon. And I had some questions. I raised some concerns during workshop before the vote at the meeting about sales tax issue. And because I didn't feel like my questions were being adequately answered by staff, I ended up being a no vote. And the bill ended up failing that evening. And unfortunately, the mayor was caught on a hot mic calling the four of us that voted against this bill explicitive idiots. And it's, you know, it's not to me a matter of what the bill was about. It, you know, none of that matters. Your leader should never be calling fellow elected officials out like that. And so there was a little bit of issue then after that he did send an apology to the council members, but his apology was just he was sorry for his actions, and that was kind of it. He reached out to one of the four of us that he said that about and apologized to that one person, but never apologized to anybody else. And at the next council meeting, he apologized again, but again, he didn't apologize to the people that he insulted. And to me, it's a bigger picture. I try to have thick skin. Yeah, you insulted me. That's kind of, you know, whatever. But you also didn't apologize to your constituents for behavior unbecoming of your mayor.
Yeah. Hey, Billy Crow here. You know, you talked about you had questions that weren't answered, and then, you know, he called you and basically an idiot because of that. Like, you know, when I look at stuff like that, when someone comes with a bill to be passed, like they've got the burden of proof to prove to me why I should vote yes for that. Do you feel like, I mean, you know, this sounds like this mayor might have some issues when it comes to like constructive criticism. Do you feel like he even really tried to actually get this project across, or just wanted you guys to rubber stamp it?
Well, there has been a long tradition of thinking that the city council was just going to rubber stamp whatever the city staff and the mayor want. As a matter of fact, one of our city council members was actually overheard saying that, you know, we're not to be anything more than a rubber stamp for whatever the city and the mayor want. And, you know, my thought when I heard, I didn't hear that directly, but my thought when I heard that is, well, then what do we need you on the council for? We could have anybody sit here if the job is to just rubber stamp. That's not what our job is. And our job is to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars and to look out for the residents. And even just this last meeting that we had, there was a situation of issuing a conditional use permit for some people down in Caledonia. I'm sorry, it wasn't for people in Caledonia, but it was for a business that was going in Caledonia. And the residents came out in droves speaking against this conditional use permit. They were making phone calls to us. They were sending us emails. And yet there were only two of us on the city council that listened to the residents and said no.
Interesting. You know, they say, you know, all politics is local, and we're so used to focusing on the brawling that goes on at the federal level because that's what's in the news. But obviously, local politics can get heated and get complicated, and not everybody walks away friends all the time. But despite that, Linda, despite the challenges that presents, you are seeking re-election for the spot. Tell us a little bit about that and how the race is going.
I am. It's been interesting. When I first ran in 2023, I had two opponents. This year, I started off with two opponents. One has since dropped out, and I do still have one opponent in the race. But what I would say is we need people in this office that are going to continue to listen to the residents, stand up for the residents. And, you know, I've been doing that for the last 3 years. Sometimes I feel like I'm on that island all alone, but, you know, I do have some support of perhaps not doing things, you know, supporting things exactly the way that I would, but I do have an ally on the council in Councilwoman Amanda Taylor, who also listens to her residents, and she also is right there to do what she thinks is the best thing to do for our constituents. So I think that right now my reelection is going well. We'll see on April the 7th when the voters turn out. You know, that's really the biggest testament to how your campaign is really going, is what the turnout is like.
Now, as you said, you're running for re-election, and I'm assuming you have an opponent at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, I know in certain municipalities, in Jefferson County, right? Like sometimes the establishment mayor likes to support particular candidates because, he wants that rubber stamp. Is the administration there? Are they supporting your opponent or stepping into those races behind the scenes or anything that you know of?
My particular race, I do not know. There's not much out there on my opponent. There's, when you search the name, whatnot, there's really nothing out there. Nobody really knows very much about them. So I'm sure that perhaps maybe not necessarily the mayor, but other people on the council who have not liked my stance on some issues, I'm sure they probably are reaching out to my opponent to see what they can possibly do to help. But, and if that's what happens at the end of the day, that's okay, because the only votes that matter are the residents of Ward 5. And, these people that might be trying to help my opponent, they don't get a vote. What's interesting is we have 5 wards in O'Fallon. Only 2 of us are incumbents running for re-election. There is another in Ward 3 where we had a city council member resign under duress a couple of months ago. He basically had to resign because his company that he's part owner in was awarded a $23.5 million contract with the city. So he ended up having to withdraw. But ironically, here we are a few months later, he's running for re-election. So
Okay.
Kind of odd.
Makes things interesting. Linda, if folks want to know kind of what your key agenda items are, or find out more about your campaign or how they can support you, what's the best place for them to check that information out?
Well, thank you. It is, I have a website. I do have a Facebook page also, but my website is Ragsdale for O'Fallon, and that's FOR, O'Fallon.com.
Great. Linda, really appreciate you joining us on the show today. I hope things simmer down there a little bit for you, and things go well on April 7th.
Well, thank you so much. It's so good to talk to you. And Billy, I was wondering when our paths were going to cross.
Now they have. Perfect. I'm glad I could introduce you to
I'm
you.
so excited. Absolutely.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. We're going to change things up a little bit, maybe lighten things up a little bit.
Yeah.
What dish best represents Missouri or Illinois? We're gonna find out next.
I looked at your list that was on this. I got a little frustrated with
I
it.
know. Well, we're gonna talk about that coming up next.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here for Newstedter's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous Bull of a Watch, WowDiamonds.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Very active, very fun chat box. Cinderfer.
Hi, Cinderfer.
Hey, how you doing? She says, yo, Vic, baby. Verbatim, yo, Vic, baby. With an exclamation point. How else are you supposed to read that? I was driving, had to pull over to comment. I was going to say how sexy the beard is. But I'm afraid of your wife.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I would be.
Vic Porcelli. Live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for Customer Satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here.
Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie Moore filling in for Mike while he enjoys Puerto Rico. Billy Crow here is here with me, and so is Jerome. And we were talking yesterday, actually, about getting hangry. And, you don't want to get hangry, and you don't want others around you to get hangry. They might get stabby in the process. People that are close to me can attest to the fact that you don't want to see me hangry either. But it got me thinking, I saw this article the other day. Which states in the USA are known for the best food, and what are the dishes most associated with each state? A new poll has the answers. Supposedly, they polled 5,000 Americans on this so that they come up with this list of, each state and what dishes it best represent it. We might have some quibbles with this, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So what, you guys have seen the list now. But when you first saw that, you thought Missouri, what came to mind?
Well, the first thing I think of, and it's probably because we're St. Louis centric, right? Is things like gooey butter cake.
Mm-hmm.
It's things like toasted raviolis.
Yeah, which by the way, I don't know, I can't remember who the genesis of this was, but it was somebody like down on the hill, and they're like, this is how we measure snow, and they had like a stack of toasted ravioli.
That. Yeah, that was good.
Perfect.
That was good.
Yeah,
and then the last one is pork steaks.
Yes.
You go anywhere else in the country, and they're like, what's a pork steak?
Yeah, that is definitely see, even Jerome is perplexed.
What is a pork steak?
Basically, it's pork butt cut up in steaks.
I guess that's right in the name. I should have guessed that.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it sounds like.
And if it's done right, it's really good. And if it's not, it's like the worst. Because
well,
it can get really dry really fast.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like our own version of a pork chop, only better.
It is. And so, in my neck of the woods, like Sunday afternoon barbecue, it was brats and pork steaks. Like that was it, right?
Now, you mentioned barbecue.
Well, yeah.
So apparently the answer for Missouri is barbecue. Now, Kansas City kind of has a reputation for it.
Sure.
And then there's good barbecue around St. Louis, too. Right. I don't want to besmirch it. I'm not a barbecue fan. I know. Shoot me now. But I'll eat it. It's just not my favorite. But I don't think of Missouri and barbecue.
Right. I think of like Nashville and Tennessee. I think of Texas, which if you scroll down, they're on the list of that states too, but they also get like multiple things for their state.
That's
we
the only
just
thing
got
we got.
barbecue.
It's like someone didn't bother. Maybe they didn't bother to survey a lot of Missourians is what I'm
would
thinking.
say probably
even
not.
amongst their 50,000. Now, Jerome, in a nod to you, and actually, I used to live in Illinois briefly, and so did Mike. I had to look up what Illinois was, and I was not surprised by this.
What is it?
Deep dish pizza.
Yep.
Chicago-style hot dogs.
Yep.
So it's very Chicago-centric.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, and that's where I lived was Chicago. So it's like, okay, that totally is in line with it. Yes, if someone asked me to come up with a food that I associate with Illinois, those would be on the list.
Absolutely. Now, I'm more of a bratwurst guy than a hot dog guy, so I'm not going to fight anybody that says they have better hot dogs. But when it comes to pizza, you can say whatever you want, but Missouri's got nothing on Chicago deep dish.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not.
Nobody even likes emos, okay?
That's true.
Yeah, but it's edible.
So, you want to talk about edible? Our pizzas in Chicago are like just a block of cheese
what
a little bit of crust.
Literally a pie.
What I'm saying is, in a pinch, there's something like someone comes in with an Emo's pizza, you're not going to go, I don't want that. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I'll have a little square.
So when you're stranded in the snowstorm and the last thing you have in your fridge is that last slice of Emo's, you're like, I'd rather not starve.
Listen, I'm not. There's very few pizzas in the world that I will say no to. Let me just put it that way. And there is something about I'm partial to the thin crust, so I like that. I don't like the deep dish because I feel like I'm eating a casserole.
That's the benefit.
It's called lasagna.
That's lasagna.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I saw this about Kansas, and it really had me scratching my head. So, of course, they've got barbecue, and I get it because they're associating it with Kansas City. Plus, it's beef country. Steak. Duh.
Makes sense.
Chili with cinnamon rolls. What the heck is that?
That doesn't even make sense.
It makes zero sense. Is this? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, chili with cinnamon rolls.
Is this a Kansas thing?
Do you put it on there?
Did you put it on there? Dip it?
Yeah. Is it like a side dish? Like what's going on?
Is it just a combo like grilled cheese and tomato soup? I don't.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Get it together, folks.
Yeah.
And that explains why I don't mind the Chiefs going over there. Like, you keep all that weirdness on the other
You
side.
go
of the
on
border.
over there. Go ahead. You cross that state line. We don't really care.
You talk about pizzas, right? I'm looking at these different states, like Connecticut, clam chowder. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But have you ever heard of Connecticut-style pizza?
No.
Why is Connecticut known for their pizza? That
No.
makes
New
zero
York.
sense.
New
York
York
makes
is.
sense, yeah. But Connecticut pizza.
Here's another one.
Does it have a clam on it?
Here's another one that doesn't make sense, but it does make sense, but it doesn't. Ohio. Buckeyes. Okay, yes, that's their like mascot. That's what they're known for, but that's not a dish.
Yeah, I don't think they were named after the dish of, peanut butter balls covered in chocolate.
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense.
That makes no sense. That's
Now,
not
are they actually cooking the Buckeye nuts?
I don't know.
Like, I
I've
don't know
never
why it
heard
does
of that.
Right? Yeah.
I think
It's like eating acorns. Who does that?
I would like to know that, like, how this survey was worded. Something's weird about this.
Well, Kentucky. So some of these have more than one dish. So Kentucky's accurate with the fried chicken. I mean,
Absolutely. How could it
KFC,
not be?
Right? I'm talking real Louisville,
Good.
Kentucky chicken. Louisville. Yeah. But I'm surprised that biscuits and gravy are missing because you can. I had to test this, but any like local diner, even if it's not on the menu, they can make you biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
I did not know that was a thing, but they are like all about the biscuits and gravy, and at least in Louisville, but yeah, Louisville, if you're going to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, no, you just had to swallow that whole middle syllable.
I had to unlearn for my time living there. I had to unlearn how to pronounce it like that because I was like, yeah, I was in Louisville. They're like, where's Louisville? Oh, Louisville.
I mean, some of this stuff is just silly. I really have to wonder. I mean, if they truly surveyed 5,000 people.
Okay, real quick, comment from Laura. Welcome, Laura. Good morning. I want to know, are you from Kansas? So, town of New Mel makes chili with peanut butter sandwiches. I like both of those. I'm not eating those together, though.
No way, dude. No way.
Thanks for ruining my breakfast this
New
morning.
Melly. That's New Melly.
New Melly, okay.
Okay, that's just out in the western St. Charles County.
Oh, that's within,
local.
That's within commuting distance. We
Yeah,
can fix that.
we can
We can outlaw this and do something.
Jerome's
about
always
this.
wanting to fix somebody or something.
Get somebody on that St. Charles Council.
Yeah.
Well, hey, tomorrow you're having a St. Charles guy in. Maybe you can get him to fix it.
I'm going to have to ask Richard West about that. Yes, he's going to be
How do
joining
we
me tomorrow.
ban monstrosity?
Yeah, I don't. Something about that doesn't seem. I mean, I like both those things. I do like them, but I don't like the idea of them together.
No.
Yeah, I'm questioning the validity, the credibility of this survey because with 5,000 people, you would think, well, you got what, at least 100 people from each state, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think you'd have a better answer than some of these, and I don't know.
Now, quick question: which state has the best food? Period.
Ooh, I mean, I would think like maybe either a Texas or New York because they have such a diverse amount of peoples there, a lot of different groups coming together, right? But it's hard to say.
Hard to say.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. Until I called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payments, interest interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. We are hearing from Border Czar Tom Homan, dispatched to Minneapolis by President Trump for talks with state and local officials regarding ongoing immigration enforcement operations.
In my meetings with folks so far, and most importantly, the governor and the AG, the Mayor Fry, we didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything.
But he says you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions. And so, enforcement of immigration law continues, as do those discussions. She wants to go from Capitol Hill to the Minnesota governor's office. Democrat U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar announcing that she is running for governor of Minnesota. The FBI has executed a search warrant in Georgia, seeking records tied to the 2020 presidential election. Contest that President Trump insists he won big.
FBI agents searched the election office in Fulton County, which is home to Atlanta. It's Georgia's most populous county and a Democratic stronghold. That location has been central to conspiracy theories over Donald Trump's 2020 election loss. For years, the president has insisted the election was tainted by widespread fraud, even though multiple courts and state and federal officials have found no evidence of fraud that would have altered the outcome. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana lead the way when it comes to the number of utility customers without power in the wake of this week's major winter storm. PowerOutage.us says there's a total of around 255,000 outages across those three states. Property damage, but no injuries when a motorist repeatedly intentionally rammed his vehicle into the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in New York City. The suspect is being held. Wall Street head of the opening bell. The Dow futures up 39 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like replacing my bike in case of an accident?
Progressive's total loss coverage can help with that.
Great. And you also agree with me that my riding club should ride to the aquarium instead of cruising around a mountain, right?
Actually, we just do insurance. We don't vote in riding clubs.
Nice. 2 votes for the turtle exhibit.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
What are you, some kind of turtle hater?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. We make the amazing Solaire infrared gas grills that are built to last and will consistently deliver better than restaurant grilled food. The Solaire infrared burner heats up to 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes, even in the dead of winter. The high heat locks in the juices and flavor and grills food faster. Learn more about these fantastic USA-made grills at BestHotGrill.com. Solaire, hot, fast grills at BestHotGrill.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today, afternoon highs in the mid-20s, and let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all, but if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch, maybe even a little more is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8, the afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, does having more economic freedom make a difference in people's lives, such as maybe helping reduce poverty?
It definitely makes a difference. Economic freedom is critical for fostering well-being and prosperity. It enables people to make their own choices and pursue their own interest, like choosing careers, starting businesses, and innovating to make the world better. It thrives in environments that empower people, promote competition, and protect property rights, all while being supported by limited and healthy government. Economic freedom is a catalyst for generating higher incomes, greater wealth, more opportunities, better access to education, and improved health at all levels of society. It makes a difference.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Mike Ferguson.
Shut this sucker down.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, St. Louis.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. My name is Billy Crow. If you haven't been listening yet this morning to the Mike Ferguson Show, don't adjust your dials. This is the Mike Ferguson Show. I'm Billy Crow here with Jerome, and Mike Ferguson is off in a life of luxury in Puerto Rico, America's colony, where he is in nice, balmy weather while we're here freezing our bums off here. Susie's out, and I am in all by my lonesome. They let me play today, and I'm pretty excited about that. You may hear me on Sundays. I'm one of the hosts of Jeffco Patriot Radio. We're on Sundays at noon to 1, talking about all things Jeffco. But today, we're talking about a lot of other things. Coming up in this hour, we're going to have Cecily Williams on, who's a state rep from Jefferson County. She's got a very impactful bill she's trying to get through the House, so we're going to be talking to her about that. And then we're going to talk about, in the segment after that, something that's near and dear to my heart, education. We are, I think a lot of folks here at the station are very much free choice when it comes to school choice folks, right? And so the idea with that is that we don't want the state interfering, but some Republican politicians in the State House are trying to do things that will actually make some mandates on these schools. And I actually talked to a superintendent in Jefferson County about some of these issues, and him and I could agree on, like, man, we need less regulation so that the schools can actually take care of the kids that are in their district. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. But before we do, we've got some things to touch on. Jerome and I, we've noticed these last couple times we've hosted together that we're kindred spirits when it comes to leaning a little more libertarian and hating all things socialism.
Yes.
So, these Trump bank accounts, okay? Like, let's talk about this. Because at the end of the day, if someone said, I wanted to set up a universal basic income, we call that socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Trump says, I want to give every newborn a $1,000 investment account open up. Now do we say, hey, that's great, that's capitalism? Or is that still socialism, even though it's from our side?
Well, I was actually having a discussion with a couple individuals, actually. And what I mean is I was arguing on the internet with people, but just full disclosure. But yes, I quite literally, it started off with trying to make that statement of I thought we were against socialist ideas. Essentially, what the Trump accounts are going to be is almost like a 401k for a kid, but instead of you putting all of your own money into it, the government is going to, the Treasury specifically, is going to use the taxpayer-funded pool to allocate $1,000 of seed capital into that. The two of the three main tenets of a socialist economy are a command economy and centralized planning, and then an emphasis on welfare programs.
Right.
I cannot imagine how giving a new, and this applies to all children that are born between, I can't remember the month, but 2025 to 2028. And we still have the issue with the 14th Amendment with birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
So potentially speaking, we are basically funding the futures for people using taxpayer-funded money. And when I say that sounds kind of socialistic, that's if Kamala Harris had done that, if Biden had done that, if anybody on the left had done that, we would be screeching about it. And I did get somebody replying, okay, fine, it's socialism, but at least it's good because it helps capitalism. And I can't think of any time in history where socialism has been good for capitalism.
Right, because you got to decide, how are we going to fund this? Either A, it's being taxed from somebody else and given to these kids, or B, we're building inflation and just printing off and making up new money. It doesn't just come out of thin air. Now, if you want to talk about deregulating stuff to make it easier for parents, just say, hey, it's automatically opened, and just like your 401k, you can go to your employer and easily set up, an investment mechanism associated to that. that's great, but once you start putting public funds into it, now we've got a problem. Now we've got something that says you're taking something from me that I worked for and giving it to that person over there. And I don't agree with that.
Well, and the thing that really got under my skin was that this individual went on to say, well, nobody's forcing you to participate in it because you can choose if you don't want to accept a Trump account for your child, you can choose not to get one. But
they're taking it from you either way.
But the tax, yeah, so luckily it's not as egregious as what we see with Social Security, where they are specifically taking that out of the FICA and allocating it to the generation currently. People think that you get your money back. No, it's 85 cents per dollar that the people currently retiring are going to get from your contribution.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
By definition. So it's not that specifically bad, but the fact of the matter is that we, the taxpayers, are contributing to the tax pool being used. And the only way that you and I are not fun, and do you guys have kids?
We do,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't. So you're welcome if you decide to open one of these accounts, because I don't have any kids, and yet there's no way for me to opt out to make sure none of my taxes are going to be going into a Trump account for somebody else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you look at these other New Deal programs like Social Security, and then you've got Lyndon Johnson's Great Society stuff. You know, all these things started out very, very small, but then ballooned and expanded. Trump may have the best of intentions, but someone beyond him may, expand it and balloon it. And before you know it now, I want to get a vote elected, so I'm going to campaign on giving all these kids $10,000. And then it just becomes, again, another government handout in balloons. And the best way to keep government down is to not add more government, not just try to keep it in check.
So Vicky from our stream, good morning, Vicky. Thanks for joining us again. Is asking, are we sure it isn't taken from tariffs? And I just want to remind people, because we've had many, including the one of Trump's former economic advisors on the show, but we've also had Steve Forbes on the show of Forbes Magazine. We've had Dave Hebert on the Saturday morning show. We, the consumers, are paying the tariffs. The tariffs are the good gets exported to the United States. It sits there until the tariff is paid. And whether that's parts for a computer, whether that's actual food or whatever other services, it sits there until the importer pays that, then puts it on market, and then the people that put it on the market are applying the tariff to us. We are paying for that. So it could very well be coming from the tariffs, but that doesn't change the fact that we are paying an additional tax, and that additional tax is then going to be used on these Trump accounts. Now, one of the things that right now is very important for the midterms coming up and for President Trump is the votes, the core voter base. There are a lot of people that are becoming more disenfranchised with and we're really losing a lot of that momentum that we had at the beginning of 2025 when Trump returned to office. Now, essentially what's going on is that childless people that are millennial age, Gen Z age,
right?
We are funding the retirements of people. We are funding now the newborns.
The births of people, yeah.
And under our current system, we don't have a revocation of that birthright citizenship. So birth tourism is still a very real threat. Now we are paying for potentially accounts for children of illegals.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And tariffs. I'm a labor guy, right? I'm a union member, and labor always supports tariffs because they want to protect American jobs. But you still can't get around the fact that it is a tax, and it is taking tax money from some person and giving it to another person, right? And so I totally agree with that. And you're absolutely right. We're talking about perhaps people coming over from Somalia and then exporting our government fraud dollars back to Somalia. Now we could have them coming over here, being born, getting birthright citizenship, getting the accounts, and then flying back to wherever, right? And then having this account that sits there growing money that wasn't theirs to begin with, and they never put into. I think that's a great point with birthright citizenship.
Yeah, in what we've seen with a lot of these, they're called the newcomer. I didn't coin that, but that's what they're being called, the newcomer generations. Is that between 50 and 8% of some of these groups, within a year of becoming a legal U.S. citizen, are already on welfare programs. So somebody that's already not financially, they don't have their own finances together to even sustain a life in the country, is coming over here. If they have a kid, we give them $1,000 now under this program. The growth of the account is still private donations, your own contribution.
Right.
It's treated like a 401k.
Right.
I would actually not have an issue with it if you remove the $1,000 seed money.
That's right.
But why are we going? Why, if this close to midterms, when we are already feeling that frustration, the rift dividing within the right in general, we also have the crazies on the left that want to do all the Mamdani supporting terrible policy decisions. So we have to be worried about that. And now we're also looking at, why am I not getting $1,000? I've been working for 2 decades, basically, I've been a tax-positive, tax-contributing individual, and they're not going to give me money. I have no kids. What am I supposed to do? If I don't, I'm not even in a position. A lot of people that are going to be paying into these accounts, if the next administration ends it into 2028, then we basically gave all the money away, and then our future kids are not going to have anything for them.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And this isn't the only thing that some people are calling socialism that Mr. Trump has done. And, I would call someone on the, I guess, the fairer assessment, the generous assessment would be called more populist ideas, right? But it is, again, socialistic. When you've got President Trump saying that he wants to stop so that these investment capital firms like BlackRock can't buy residential homes. That is the government acting on the market. That is not a free market solution to a problem. That is not a conservative idea. Again, I think that's close, feels a lot closer to what Mondami's doing in New York. What do you think, Jerome?
I mean, it is. I don't like BlackRock.
Fair enough.
I don't like their model of profiteering off of basically making a renter's economy instead of a owner's economy. But at the same time, to your point, it's not up to the government to be able to pick winners and losers and to say, well, you're winning too hard, we have to cut that off, because there are going to be other effects of that as well. Same thing with when he was trying to issue the statement saying, credit cards, you need to cap your interest rates at 10%.
There you go.
I hate paying interest on my credit cards, and it really hurts. But at the same time, the ripples effects of that are going to have much larger effects.
Right.
And they could potentially slingshot back and hurt the economy worse. Why is it that we are not focusing more? Let's get rid of the income tax, which was a campaign promise.
Right.
Let's figure out a way of reducing or eliminating property tax altogether. I will pay more in sales tax for things. I don't buy a whole lot, but I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that. We can even keep the tariffs. I don't mind that much.
Right.
But when people are able to keep more of their own money and decide how they want to spend it, you can save to have your kid have $1,000 that grows over time as they grow up. You can choose, to rent or own a home. It won't matter as much because I'm sure BlackRock fixes up some of these houses as well, gets them into a livable state. But why not focus more on what's going on with zoning? Why are we not pushing
deregulation?
More? Why are we not pushing more for new homes to be built? Because as more homes expand and get out there and people can actually afford to start a life there, it's not going to matter as much if BlackRock's buying up certain homes in different areas.
Absolutely.
Because we'll have more options.
Absolutely. I deal with that every day on the county council level in Jefferson County. Like, we have a housing problem. Yes, let's make more houses. Let's deregulate. More regulation will never solve market problems.
And we cannot tax, borrow, and recklessly print money to fix a spending problem. As long as the government is allowed to keep spending and reallocating funds, it doesn't matter if we give them all of our money or not. We need the power of the economy to be back in a free market system.
Bingo. Hey, when we come back, we're going to have Cecily Williams on the line talking about all the cool things she's doing up there at the Capitol. Hang with us here at News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
Try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this.
Well, there you go again. Listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Need promotional products or apparel for your business? Look no further than Blue Sky Promotions. This woman-owned, locally operated company in Bridgeton specializes in anything and everything promotional. From branded apparel and uniforms to custom giveaways and marketing materials, Blue Sky Promotions has you covered. Whether you're looking to stand out at a trade show, build brand awareness, or reward your employees, Blue Sky Promotions has the solutions you need. Visit BlueSkyPromotions.com or call 314-739-3531.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event.
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Well, good morning. If you're just tuning in to us, clearly I'm not Mike Ferguson. I am Billy Crow, but it is still the Mike Ferguson Show. Jerome and I are holding down the fort, and we are really getting after it. Right now, we have on the line Cecily Williams. Cecily is the state rep. Wait, don't quote me here. District 111, which is in Jefferson County. And she is just an amazing person in general, but she's got some great things that are happening in Jeff City. Her bill was even mentioned by the governor in the State of the State address. So, Cecily, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Cecily, the bill that was discussed by the governor at the State of the State address had to do with women being able to get a divorce even while they're pregnant. Tell us a little bit about this bill and why it is so important.
Yeah, so this bill is really one of the reasons why I ran for this elected office. This bill is incredibly personal to me. I'm a domestic abuse survivor. I tried to get a divorce when I was pregnant with my fourth child, and wasn't aware of the law until I went to file, and they stated I couldn't file for divorce because I was pregnant, and then told me about the law that states that women cannot get divorced if they're pregnant. They can file for divorce. They have a lawful will to file, but they will not finalize the divorce while pregnancy while you're pregnant. So I was completely shocked. I realized how hard it was for me to leave my husband. And on average, it takes a domestic abuse victim to leave 7 times to leave before they're actually successful at leaving. And there's the line in the sand, and I had crossed that line, and I knew I was going to be closer to my freedom just to have the state of Missouri say that I couldn't get that divorce. And so here I am trying to change that law.
Now, one of the things that you and I have talked about this is the fact that, especially right now, the way the law sits in Missouri, that you can get an abortion. And so if we're looking at this as pro-lifers, as Republicans, that if this bill, the law, the way it sits, actually encourages women to go get an abortion because they can go get an abortion and then the same day be able to file for that divorce.
That's right.
Instead of encouraging them to keep it, right? Talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Yeah, so it's amazing to know that, with Missouri being so pro-life, and that we would ask a woman or even allow her to make that decision, or to even come through her mind that, man, in order to save myself, I'm going to have to sacrifice my child. And the law is so antiquated, and it blows my mind. I had told them, when they told me that, I had asked them, I said, so if I go get an abortion, I can come back and get a divorce? And they said yes.
Mm.
And I said, what in the heck is going on here? Why would we encourage that just to save ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I thought it was so hypocritical, because we allow pregnant women to get married and we don't question them getting married. But then we're not going to allow that same pregnant person 3 months into their marriage, if they want to get a divorce, allow them to get divorced, even though they know that the man they married is not the father of their child. And so it's really just a very just ridiculous law. 1974 was when this law was created, and we just happened to pass federally the ECOA, which was the Equal Credit Opportunity Act.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave women the right to have their own checking account without a male's name on it. Being that women prior to that had to have, if they wanted a checking account, they had to have their husbands, grandfathers, brothers, cousins, friends, the guy down the street, the old man on the corner, whoever on their checking account, because women could not have their own checking account. This also allowed them to get mortgages and credit cards and loans and anything that they needed. They had the Equal Credit Opportunity Act afforded them that. And so the same year we passed that, we decided we're going to handcuff women and not allow them to get divorced if they're pregnant, keeping them in situations they no longer want to be in. And it's such a disservice. And these laws are so dangerous because they actually encourage women to possibly get an abortion so they can free themselves. But also, domestic abuse is heightened during pregnancy. As a matter of fact, it's the number one killer in pregnancy is homicide from domestic abuse. That's what kills pregnant women.
That's crazy.
Most of the time. It's not even pregnancy-related issues. And the fact that is so startling, that we're going to have this law that actually keeps women in a situation they don't want to be in, is just mind-boggling. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know, on the conservative end of the spectrum, like, we are for family values. We are for trying to keep families together as long as we can.
Absolutely.
But again, the pro-life side of it is like, what's the left's big argument against it is, like, you care about the life of the child, but not the life of the mother. And the way the law is written now, it's like that I can see that argument, but you're trying to fix that, and so we can look at this holistically. Now I know you tried to get this bill through last year, and it died in the Senate last year. Tell us where it sits right now and how we get you across the finish line.
Yes, so I'm really excited. The bill this year is HB 1908. It's pretty incredible, Billy, that Courtney Rowe is Miss Missouri. And when she was competing in the Miss America pageant, she actually mentioned my bill from last session, which was HB 243.
That's cooler than Mike Kehoe mentioning it, actually.
That is. She mentioned it in her speech when they were interviewing her on stage. And she says, in Missouri, if you're pregnant and you're being abused, you cannot get a divorce. And HB 243 will allow that. And it was an amazing moment. So now, since it's a new session, we have to have a new bill number because it died. And so now it's HB 1908. And we just had a hearing last week in committee. It got voted out of committee. It's in rules right now. We're hoping it gets to the House floor next week and then moves on to the Senate. The Senate is prepared to have it. So we've got everything lined up. And we're hoping that nobody tries to play any funny games and add an amendment onto it that I can't support.
Like they did last year.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yep. Yeah. So, essentially, it's almost the same situation with the ECOA Act, and how how the law became. So the bill essentially on the last day of the Senate, it was brought to the floor. Someone added an amendment that was, for alimony, and it's a terrible bill. It's just a terrible bill, and they added it as an amendment onto my bill. So essentially, we'll allow women to get divorced now if they're pregnant, but we're gonna have all these stipulations on alimony and who qualifies for what. And
right.
I mean, I thought we were handcuffing women again, and so it ended up dying on the Senate floor because it just is not they need to rework the bill and figure a better outcome. So what we're hoping it doesn't get added again, so that we can, save as many women as we can, and allow them the freedom that they rightfully deserve. I think one more important thing to point out is that in 1972, just 2 years prior to the ECOA and this pregnancy, not allowing women to get divorced if they're pregnant, was the Equal Rights Act was created. And Missouri had 10 years to ratify the Equal Rights Act, and they never did.
Never did, yeah.
So federally, women have the same rights as men, but in our state, they don't recognize that. Now, of course, the federal laws oversee when state laws aren't there. But if they would have ratified the Equal Rights Act, we wouldn't have to, piecemeal these bills that are, sex discriminatory.
Yeah.
But right now we have to find all these bills that are specific to women and fight them one by one and hope to God we can get them through the Senate. Last year, get them through the entire process.
Right. Yeah.
For me, it died in the Senate, so that's why I said that. But 2,700 bills were filed, and only 67 made it to the governor's desk. So that in itself is it's like the numbers are just incredible. Like it's crazy to think that only 67 got through. So, hoping and knowing that the governor has my back on this and it's a priority for him is something that's, absolutely incredible that he even spoke about it. And I'm incredibly blessed. I'm blessed to have this opportunity. So
yeah, no, it's amazing. And thank you for all you're doing there and continuing to carry the torch of what it means to be a Republican woman in Jefferson County and in the state of Missouri. Thank you for coming on, Cecily. And we will talk to you again some other time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. Well, that was Cecily Williams, and we'll be right back with talking about some education bills at the House.
On 101.9, 94.1, News Talk STL.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's another cold one today. Afternoon highs in the mid-20s. And let's keep an eye to the sky from mid-afternoon into tonight. A narrow band of light but persistent snow could develop. Exactly where it develops, still uncertain. A lot of us won't see these flakes at all. But if you do, a fresh dusting up to an inch. Maybe even a little more is possible. Mostly cloudy, even colder tomorrow. The morning low at 8. The afternoon high at only 19 degrees on Friday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Mark Thiessen, next.
New Year's resolutions sound great on January 1st, but January 10th, not so much. This year, there's one resolution worth keeping, getting your finances in order. For many people, that starts with balance, not just growth, but protection too. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. For over a decade, they've made it easy for investors to add gold and silver to their portfolios and reduce market risk. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com, NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making investment decisions.
Here's Mark Thiessen.
Mayor Frey is making the people of Minneapolis less safe through his sanctuary policies. Tom Homan has made clear, and President Trump has made clear, they want to focus on criminal aliens, people with criminal records who've been arrested for serious crimes, convicted for serious crimes, many of whom are being held by the Minneapolis police in their county jails and their city jails and all the rest of it, and they won't cooperate in handing over those people. As a result, what they have to do is ICE has to go into the communities and find them once they've been released. And they are doing community sweeps. As a result, they're getting collateral arrests, and there are protests as a result of that. If the stand down is Trump has offered, I will stop those community sweeps if you help us get the people with criminal records. And Frey is saying no. And so what he's proving is that the sanctuary policies are the problem.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff and not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives up. Lights stay on, heat stays on, your family stays safe, so your house stays warm.
And your ice cream stays frozen.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
NPR, guess what? Got defunded, and they're going to close down operations. If they're not going to get federal funding, well, then guess what? There are plenty of radio salespeople out there in the United States who can sell time, big time. You know why they don't sell hire a sales team? Because nobody will buy advertising because they suck so bad.
Oh my God!
You don't see people.
You're so correct. That's it right there. Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9
on News Talk STL.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Ullman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators. They're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
Enough. No drugs, no theft, none of that. Get all of that out of the country. The Democrat Party is gone. It hates the country. It hates the Constitution.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Welcome back here at News Talk of the Mike Ferguson Show. I am Billy Crow. Glad to have you all with us on this frigid Thursday morning. Listen, if you're wondering what happened to Mike, well, someone may have reported to ICE that Mike could not prove his citizenship. And so that someone may have wanted some airtime. So he got deported to Puerto Rico. Nah, just kidding, folks. He's out there hanging out, playing baseball. And you know what? Am I jealous? Absolutely. I don't wish harm on anyone. But if he pulls a hammy running to first, I'm not going to feel bad about it because he's hanging out in the sun.
Wow. Did you lure Mike to Puerto Rico with a fake invitation to play baseball just so you could take over a spot for a day on the show?
Yes, there is no baseball. He's going to go to the baseball field. It's going to be like an old Air Force base. Like, what? Where am I at?
Now I know, because I walked in here. I'm like, what is Billy doing here? I've not seen him in quite a while, but where's Mike? And now we know.
Yep, yeah. As soon as the show's over, I'm going to go ahead and clear out his office and start moving my stuff in.
Keeping the same name of the show, just now with Billy.
Right, yeah. Just the branding's all there. We can't afford new branding. So, well, hey, listen, we were talking with State Rep Cecily Williams in the last section. If you missed that, please check that out because she is just doing some incredible things in the State House. But there's some other cool things happening in the State House. You know, we talk as conservatives all about school choice, about the dollars going with the kids because we need an education that fits the children. And I'm a perfect example of that. I went to public school. My wife was homeschooled. Our child has gone to public school. She's gone to private school, and she's done homeschool. We've tried it all to find something that fit for her. And so when we talk about the idea of school choice, it is wrapped around, in my opinion, the idea of parents picking out the best things for their kids or a school that fits their kids. Well, I was talking to one of the superintendents in Jefferson County. He talked about a couple bills in the House that Republicans are opposing that actually is starting to take away choices for those schools to attend the needs of the different students that are in their schools, right? So one of those is this bill that is going to give out school report cards, an A to F scorecard, and there's going to be funding attached to it. So Mike Kehoe, he's proposed this school report card A to F. Now that sounds good on the surface, and it's being sponsored by State Rep Dane Deal from Butler, and but it's going to give every kid every score 1 through 100, A to F. It's going to be publicly posted, and it has to be on the school's website, and it talks about their performance. The question I have is, what is the performance? Because when I was in school, I don't know about you, Jerome, but when I was in school, everything was the MAP test, the standardized test. You had to pass these tests, and that was your what decided whether you were doing a good job or not a good enough job. And I'm here to tell you that does not serve students that on real-world skills.
Yeah, so we had what was called the ISAT test, and the Illinois Standard Aptitude Test. And in theory, what it was supposed to do is to see if the students were performing at par with everybody else in the nation. What it ended up really doing is seeing if the schools were passing enough children, because eventually what we were seeing over my lifetime until they got rid of it, by the time I got out of high school, was that the academic performance of the students that were subjected to the ISAT test was not coming close to where they needed to be. And then, of course, I believe it was No Child Left Behind made it so that the funding of schools comes from if you're able to get those kids through,
That's
not
right.
if they're able to read or write or do math by the time they get out of school. So then what you do, you lower the bar to the lowest common denominator, and now we have a bunch of kids running around that quite frankly concern me with the way that their minds work and everything like that. I'm glad you mentioned that you were public schooled and your wife was homeschooled, because that explains a lot about the differences between you two. Why she's a lot more level-headed than you are. But yes, no, school choice is definitely something. We've had Shannon Adcock of Awake Illinois on quite a bit to talk about, especially in Illinois, because J.B. Pritzker has been doing a lot to try to prevent any sort of parental involvement with their child's academic future success. Whereas in theory, I like the idea of the grade card system for schools, but at the same time, I have not really been able, and this is my own fault for not having the time to dive into it, but I want to see what the metric is for these grades are, what the curriculum being taught is, how they are going to objectively avoid what we went through with Illinois' ISAT thing and say, well, your kids are all reaching the standardized test, so clearly you get an A. Well,
Right.
The standardized test might not be the best or even most effective way of gauging the academic abilities of the learning outcomes of the students, and that's something we need to be cautious of as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a, in the high school I went to, there was a lot of kids that what they did was their junior and senior year, we had a junior college close to us, and so their days they would go out there and they would learn HVAC, they would learn plumbing, they would graduate high school with already associate's degree in these mechanical aptitude things, working on cars, right, and these certifications. But I guarantee you they couldn't pass the standardized test because they were the kind of kids that didn't sit still in class, didn't take tests well, but they knew how to work with their hands. So those kids are going to have good outcomes, but if the scoring is not done right, the fear is some of those schools that promote those kind of programs that, as a school choicer, I would say I want kids to be able to go to that kind of school would be punished for, right? So that doesn't seem like that actually. It seems, again, it's like this mandate on high from this education department, even though it's at a state level, telling these schools what's best for their children. And I think that goes against the idea of school choice in general.
Yeah, our Democratic friend Scooter also points out that a lot of teachers are complaining that they are required to spend too much time teaching the test.
Bingo,
and,
right?
And that is a very, very bad way of guaranteeing successful outcomes. Now, I would love if there was more vocational stuff. My high school did not have very much of anything offered, and the few things that were offered were so flooded with people that actually were curious about it that it was hard to even get into something like welding I got to take, but it was very difficult to prove that you were going to be interested and not just take it as an elective to get out of doing something else.
Right.
Now, on the other hand of things, homeschooled individuals consistently across the board of every economic zone of every part of the nation, with very limited exceptions, are outperforming public school children. They are performing better on like the ACT and the SAT. I'm
sure.
I think that's still what they're called, but they are better adjusted by the time they get into college. They have more self-confidence, and they are overall just outperforming the outcomes of public school children. And yet, for the anti-school choice people, what's the main argument? You're not qualified. You're not able. You should not be in charge of teaching your own child because you're not qualified. Well, homeschooling is not just, hey, stay at home and then hopefully the person figures it out. There's a bunch of resources available.
Especially today with all the modern technology and like all the online classes and everything. It's incredible what's out there today.
So why are we not then looking at this as, well, we have the metrics and the data, objective data to demonstrate people that are being homeschooled are having better outcomes, and they're also more curious and more interested in exploring the world and seeing what's available to them.
Yeah.
Why don't we get more homeschooled people and the parents of the homeschooled children and put them in the schools and help them figure out, why is it that I'm able to get through to my child, but you're not? Well, because there are issues with public schools regarding overcrowding, and I know at least in my area, we had a version of school choice when I was younger, but the problem was every single school is failing as bad as ours. There's no point in moving me. And yet there are areas where it would make more sense to say, look, my child might have a specific learning obstacle that could be better suited and better filled with this school over here. But because you don't want to lose out on that child in that seat in your school, you're going to tell me I cannot do better by my child. And that's something you don't see with homeschool, because at homeschool people, it's your parent or a teacher or somebody, or a tutor, or somebody that has a vested interest in the outcome of this individual more than an average teacher would even have the ability to.
No, absolutely right. I think that is an incredible point. Now there's this other one, and again, I think you and I can agree. This is getting a little social engineering. This next bill that I'm talking about is mandatory gym class. Okay. Now, I'm not just saying, like, everybody should take gym class, but 60 minutes mandatory every day. And it does not, there's no exemption for student athletes. So I played basketball in school. I was a gym rat. I played ball 2 to 3 hours every night after school. I didn't need to take gym class, right?
Yeah.
Like, but the other thing is it the school's job? Is it the state's job to get your kid in shape?
I would argue that there's actual cognitive development skills that are taught in physical education classes that are taught appropriately. It should not be maybe necessarily looked at. I mean, again, childhood obesity is a major problem, and I would go so far as to say it should be ran like a boot camp type thing. Like, at ROTC, you're running through those tires. That's in wrestling, But sitting in a class where you're seated all day, you have those lights beaming down on you, you are potentially stuck learning something you don't care about. Of course, you're not going to be able to sit still and pay attention. And then to have an outlet where the human body craves physical activity. The people that do the bare minimum of basic activities every day, when they get older, their bodies aren't hurting because they've used their body. The body wants to move. So I think that there should be, maybe you could do something where it's a hybrid thing. You're jogging around doing laps while you're reading or something. But
fair enough.
There is an actual demonstrated positive mind development and brain activity that happens from providing physical activities. I would argue it's much worse to not have a physical activities thing just for the sake of getting out some of that energy and tuckering them out so they can go back to learning.
So you would say the requirement for 60 minutes, you're all for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Maybe it could even be, I don't know, you do 15 minutes and then you come back, you learn a little bit because you're tired out, you catch your breath, get some water, go back out there and run more laps.
All right. Well, I love that. A little bit of disagreement here and there. That's always how we do. But hey, we're going to be right back. But before we do,
we are doing our last call for Flashback Friday 80 bump music requests. I want your deep cuts. I want your forgotten gems. I want your unusual requests. Songs that you don't feel maybe got enough love back in the 80s but still hold up today. I want them. So submit your best deep cut 80s Flashback Friday music to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Okay, hunters, you don't need me to tell you this, but other than we're at the tail end of waterfowl season, at least on the north part of Missouri, hunting season is basically over for the season, and we're gearing up for the 2026 seasons. And that's why you really ought to check with my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors. Today, it's time to stock up. Whistle Pig Outdoors. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig. They're on Main Street in Troy. You really ought to check them out. Now's the time to stock up for 2026 hunting season when it comes to your clothing, your hunting clothing. I mean, they've got Drake, they've got Banded, you name it, they've got it. Waders, they only carry top quality materials. You do not want to have to worry about something going wrong with your waders when you're out on the hunt. So don't even worry about it. And so they've got all kinds of great deals right now, especially if you are an archery hunter, you hunt bow. They've got a tech on site that's going to give you the best, absolute best performance out of the bow that you have, or they can always hook you up with a new one as well. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy. Check them out today. Go online, or better yet, check them out in person on Main Street in Troy. I love that store. It's a lot of fun to be at. And Jason and Cole, the family that runs the business, hey, they're hunters and outdoorsmen too. They will guide you in the right direction.
Newstalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Buddy Radio 2 times every weekend on Newstalk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So this fake phony staged event with Ilhan Omar, I'll bet U.S. Representative Eric Burlison had a laugh about that. We'll ask Nate Lucas about it Thursday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on Newstalk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on Newstalk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 Newstalk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Wow, Jerome, you picked my theme song to go out in this last segment in? Like,
No, just for you.
buddy, I'm telling you what, I was listening to that song, I'm like, he's talking about me.
People don't realize how hard it is to be as perfect and wonderful as we are.
That's exactly right. That's why we're here.
They should be
every day.
grateful.
That's right. Well, hey, listen, we have been going through this 8 o'clock hour. I am Billy Crow, filling in for Mike Ferguson. We've been going through things happening at the State House in Missouri. We started with Cecily Williams, and then we talked about some stuff going on with different things for school. But now we're going to talk about the Second Amendment. There is a bill, House Bill 2172, sponsored by Chad Perkins of Bowling Green, that is a preemptive ban on red flag gun laws.
Wonderful.
So this bill is going to block courts from seizing firearms for high-risk individuals. Again, it bans red flag gun laws, but it's still going to it's still going to be able to be temporarily removed from people that are considered danger to themselves, right? And right now we don't have any red flag gun laws, but I think there's an argument to be made if someone we talked about all these, whether it was the Charlie Kirk shooting or the assassination attempt on Trump, these folks that have worrying pasts, right, where there should be some red flags. and red flag gun laws may have prevented deaths, but at the same time, the Second Amendment shall not be infringed.
Well, I mean, obviously, even though there are a lot of infringements that we currently live under, but I would take it a step aside from that because I do debates with gun control advocates quite often, and they don't really care if it should be infringed or not. They care about what they want to be true. Red flag laws, according to the current data, are most commonly successful with people that are actually suicidal. So it's not the potential mass murderer freak out there or the potential wannabe assassin out there, because those people are oftentimes illegally accessing the firearm to begin with. So they're not even going through a background check. And the people in their corners are either not paying attention or they support the kind of ideology that they're expressing. There's been a case, I can't remember which exact shooting it was, where a red flag law was invoked and was supposed to have the firearms taken from the house, and nobody ever showed up to do that to begin with. So even when there is a clear case where you could potentially invoke something like this, it's not properly enforced. Now, the other hand, if you believe somebody to be a danger to themselves or others, you can call a mental wellness person to come out and analyze them, put a temporary hold on them that would also disbar them from their firearms. It's not a red flag law. That is a legitimate mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And then they can go to a judge and say, look, I was going through some stuff. I got a note from a therapist saying I'm okay, give me my guns back. Or you could say, wow, this person is truly deranged, should not have firearms. And that's not an infringement of the Second Amendment. That's common sense.
Right, and I think one of the big oppositions to red flag gun laws is the fact that it can really be used against someone. Like if you call in and say, hey, this one's they're a danger to themselves and others, but they may not be. But you're wanting, I mean, it's almost like a canceling, but it's a canceling of their Second Amendment, not their voice.
So I've known people personally, and this is anecdotal, of course, the weakest form of argument, but I personally know people that were going through a bad divorce, or they were trying to leave somebody physically abusive to them. So they lawfully had a firearm, and the person, despite them, tried to call and say, I'm afraid of this person's going to retaliate. They're going to do something, going to harm me, to try to get them to not have a firearm. But it was the person that was in the wrong, that was doing the controlling abusive behavior, trying to invoke that sort of thing.
Right.
And there are times where this sort of thing happens. So I don't see the need for any sort of red flag laws. If you are concerned about an individual, get a restraining order, get your own firearm, get a security system. It's not perfect, but your protection for yourself, that is something we can currently do without an existing law. And if it's something where you're afraid somebody's going to go on a rampage, there are already so many laws in the books and so many different groups available to contact to identify that person, to have the proper people that are actually qualified to do it. Don't allow a system where I'm mad at you, or maybe like I'm a firearm owner. Maybe you're just afraid of me for some reason because you have something in your own head and you think I shouldn't have my firearms, but I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, how is somebody going to respond to a red flag law?
Right.
If you say, hey, there might be a dangerous person with a gun, they're going to send somebody with a gun to come get me. And we've seen with swatting instances where people that are not even armed are killed by SWAT forces because of that sort of behavior. Yep.
Now, there's some other really interesting things that will be changed with this bill. It's going to eliminate a lot of local gun regulations, which is exciting for us over here near St. Louis. Cities and counties would lose authority to regulate open carry, and it's going to create a uniform statewide gun policy, and this is my favorite, lowers concealed carry permit age from 19 to 18.
So letting an adult be an adult?
That's right. And so I think there's a lot of good pieces with this. I hope it gets through. And one of the stats that they talk about in here, which is just an odd one, right? For the people that are for the red flag laws, they cite that one suicide may be prevented for every 17 gun removals. That seems like an odd statistic because, I mean, what if you take 17 guns just out of the wrong people's hands? Like, come on.
The margin of error on that is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, you might 1 out of 17 poison pills might not actually be poison, so go ahead and take them all, right?
That's right.
It's just ridiculous. I don't get the mentality that, I mean, again, being from Chicago, we have some of the strictest gun laws in the entire nation, and yet we are right up there as one of the highest states, or when I was living there, for gun violence, and they weren't coming from the gun control areas. There were people using illegal firearms. How are you going to red flag law somebody that you don't know has a firearm to begin with?
Yep. Well, hey, guys, Billy Crow here for Mike Ferguson. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday morning with us here at News Talk.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more.